Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom. Some people would say separation is the key. Some people would stay and pretend to be free. Some would be staying in dilemma. Listen to your heart and choose a life. I wanna live in peace. I wanna be free. I wanna live in peace. I wanna be free. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom. No more bribery in my mama land. No, no more slavery in my mama land. No, my God created me and put me where I should be. My God created me and gave me all the things I need. Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you to take away what I am? Who are you to stop me from being who I am? Who are you to take away what I am? Freedom, freedom, freedom. Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom. I can say I deserve the right to say I cannot stay a second-class citizen in my mama land. You can say you deserve the right to say, do you want to stay a second-class citizen in your mama land? Sharia laws must no longer be my love. I'll be okay, free and proud with you, my love. Freedom, freedom, freedom. Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom, 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 freedom. Yes, freedom.
تسامى يا هذا الهمام تفج الدنيا ياما وتطلع من زحامة زي بدر التمام. تأتي النخلة طولة والغابات طفولة والأيام فصولة والبدر الغمام. قدرك قدرك عالي قدرك يا سامي المقام يا ملهم رماحك سناها الصدام. انظروا الصحابي الصوابي انظر والصوابي في فترة وسام ملامح كم تسامح تغضب لا تلام. همة وعبقرية، همة وفنجرية ضد العنصرية وتحلم بالسلام. فداك وفي حواك يا مدد الكلام، فداك وفي حواك يا مدد الكلام. فداك وفي حواك يا مدد الكلام، عفوك انت ورضاك وبرنا ليك تام. وبحلم في هواك، بحلم في هواك بحسن الختام. دينك كم علينا منك والدينا، وأجمل ما لدينا من يوم السماية من قبل الفطام. منك كل حتة في الخاطر صبابة، وجنبك نبتة نكبر نحن يابا. نسألك انت وانت وريتنا الإجابة. علمنا الرماية والحجة والقراية والمشي بمهابة في الضحى والظلام. أنا شاعر الشعب محجوب محمد شريف.
شكرا جزيلا للراحل والفنان الراحل، فنان الكبير، فنان افريقي الاول والشاعر محمد وردي، لك الرحمه والمغفره. وستظل كلماتك في التاريخ وفي نفوسنا وفي قلوبنا، وترسم لنا المستقبل وترشدنا الى الطريق الصحيح وتصبرنا على النضال والصمود. شكرا جزيلا. أرقد بسلام لك الرحمة والمغفرة، والرحمة والمغفرة لكل الشهداء من الفنانين الذين تغنوا للسودان، تغنوا للحرية والديمقراطية ولحقوق الشعب. خليني أنا أحييكم كلكم مشاهدين لمنبر صوت الشعب في فيسبوك وفي يوتيوب، وخلينا التحية للناس الغاليين جدا، ناس كلاب هاوس. I have here my brother Noor, أختي سوزي, وماي brother نيميري, my brother لام, my brother أستاذ جوكتاب, my sister كوليتا, my sister نيابي, ده زوج أخويا ولد يعني. سلامات مدام, nice to see you. رومان, مرحبا بك أخوي, my younger sister بوشي, وماي brother كومريد سامويل, وكل الناس اللي قاعدين في الروم تحت يعني. مانويل, السلام عليكم. حقيقة أول حاجة أنا بعتذر لأنه الأسبوع اللي فات كله أنا ما جيت عملت لايف فيديو، أعتقد من السبت اللي فاتت. وطبعا زي ما أنا قلت المرة اللي فاتت إنه اللايفات حقي طبعا هسه مع المدرسة وكده هتتقلل، تبقى يوم السبت بكرة. الحلقة ده طبعا ده حلقة خاصة، ولذلك أنا شلت من زمانين ونجي ونحن نتكلم في الحلقة بتاعت الليلة. مرحبا بكم جميعا. اعملوا شير للايف فيديو، الناس اللي قاعدين في فيسبوك اعملوا شير للايف فيديو، الناس بتاع يوتيوب برضو مرحبا بكم، والناس بتاع كلاب هاوس، وبرضو اخوي الار ازيك ماي براذر، ان شاء الله انت كويس وان شاء الله مدام كويسه. صباح النور، لو بدري عندك هناك، لكن شكرا لك كمتابع للمنصه بتاع صوت الشعب. حقيقه الليله نحن ماشيين نتكلم عن حلقه افتكر تكون الحلقه الاولى، هي ما الحلقه الاولى في حلقات اللي عملناها عن التاريخ بتاع المملكه الشلو. the last 2 weeks استاذ جوليوس كاوان هو برضه يعني كان معنا هنا، لكن الليله بالذات الحلقه بتاعت الليله ده من الحلقات المهمه. جوليوس هيجي يتكلم عن ساوث سودان فري كولونيال رول اللي هو جنوب السودان ما قبل حكم الاستعمار. شكل جنوب السودان ده كان كيف؟ أنا هنا جينا بالحلقة ده، أنا شايف إنه الدولة بتاعت جنوب السودان لسه قاعدة تتشكل، إننا لسه في إطار بتاعت بناء بتاعت الدولة، وعشان هنا نبدي دولة مستقرة اللي يستوعب كل التناقضات الاجتماعية والثقافية في الوطن الواحد، يكون في دستور، وهذا الدستور يحترم، وهذا الدستور يكون فوق الجميع، والدستور ده يقدم الحماية للزول الضعيف والزول القوي، وما في زول بيحاول يشيل حقه بيده زي الليله الموجود الجنوب القاعد الليله في يد بتاعت المافيا. ولذلك هنالك خلل كبير جدا في الجنوب، وفي عدم الاستقرار في الجنوب، في عدم استقرار امني، في مشاكل كثيره جدا. في حلقه بتاعت الليله أنا ما هنتناول المشاكل ده، لكن استاذ جوليوس انا ما اعرف انثروبولوجيست ده بيسموهم بالعربي الناس بتاع علماء علم الاجتماع، الناس اللي بيدرسوا سلوك بتاع المجتمعات وبيمشي بيعملوا دراسات، زول ممكن يمشي يعمل دراسه ويديك في التاريخ وكده، يعني برضه مرتبط بالاحسار وكده something like that. انا هنا دايرين نستفيد من مجاله، ودايرين نستفيد من القرايه القراءه برضه، عشان نحاول نوري الجنوبيين جنوب السودان ده شكله كان كيف كدوله قبل ما نبقى يعني قبل ما نكون في وضعنا موجودين فوق الليله. برضو انا افتح ناس جوليوس هيكون معي في فيسبوك للناس اللي قاعدين في كلاب هاوس. our guest will be in Facebook. وبعد ذاك any question please write your question down. بعد ما يتكلم يعمل presentation بنفتح فرصه للناس. Those that want to join through the Facebook, you are highly welcome. I will post the link. And also if there is anyone want to join the live video through the YouTube, you are highly welcome. الناس اللي قاعدين في كلاب هاوس you will join through the club house. You are برضه highly welcome للدiscussion. أنا داير نثبت حاجة قبل ما نجيب الضيف موجود في الاستديو. في ناس كثير ما بيعرفوا شكله، في ناس بيعرفوا صوته بس، يعني هو قاعد يتكلم هنا في كلاب هاوس، فأبو دقن ده يكون قاعد معي فوق هنا بعد شوية. أنا داير أكد للناس انه في قضايا كتير ماشي في بلد. انا بطمنكم ان شاء الله حلقه بتاعت بكره I'm going to address all the issues in the country and the current situation في جنوب هسه. في مشاكل كتير انا ما اقدر اتكلم فوق هسه، لكن ان شاء الله بكره الساعه 12 اجي اتكلم عن الوضع بتاع جنوب السودان الحاصل بالضبط شنو هسه اليومين ديل في البلد. انه من صوت الشعب ما كان بقى موجود، ما عملنا حلقه. بعد ذاك الحلقه الثانيه يكون يوم السبت الجاي ثاني. خلينا نجيب الضيف بتاعنا فوق و نجيبه يسلم عليكم. بعد ذاك نخليه يحكي لنا، خليه يتكلم جنوب السودان ده شكله كان كيف للجنوبيين، لانه في غلط كثير وفي ميس اديوكيشن حاصل وفي ميس انفورميشن، في معلومات مغلوطه كثيره، وده حاله طبيعيه للوضع اللي هنا قاعد يمر به جنوب السودان الليله. فرجوع للتاريخ مهم جدا، ونحن بنشكر الناس اللي بيتحدوا وبعد ذاك بيكونوا مستعدين يجي يقدموا للناس معلومه. Julius, welcome my brother for the first time being live in Voice of the People Forum. سلامات.
اهلا ندوة. تحياتي للمشاهدين في فيسبوك صوت الشعب والناس اللي بيسمعوا كلوب هاوس. So greeting to all of you. Thank you.
شكرا جزيلا اخي جوليوس، وانا طبعا سعيد انه يعني نشوف شكلك وكذلك الناس المشاهدين بتاع صوت الشعب اللي ما كانوا يعني بيعرفوك كده، لكن بيعرفوا صوتك والطريقه اللي انت بتتكلم بها عن القضايا بالذات التاريخ بتاعتنا. ده طبعا ده ما يعني ده اول ظهور بالنسبه لك في منصه بتاع صوت الشعب في لايف فيسبوك ويوتيوب. We are connected to the Facebook and also to YouTube. اللايف ده يمشي لمنصه بتاع صوت الشعب. وانا برضو خليني اشكر قبل ما نبدا الناس اللي عملوا سبسكرايب ل Voice of the People Forum في فيسبوك for very long time. جنوبين طبعا يعني كونكشن بيناتهم مع الفيسبوك هاد شويه كده، الا محلات اللي فيه الاغاني. فالمهم انا قدرت نلقى ال 1K، وبعد ذاك بقى عندي برميشن انه ممكن نعمل ستريم لايف لفيسبوك ليوتيوب دايركت. يعني كان it was not easy to get it لو انت ما وصلت 1K. So which is good also. انا بشكر كل زول قاعد يشاهد هنا المشى وعمل سبسكرايب لصوت الشعب في يوتيوب. مرحبا بك جوليوس. أنا طبعا هنتكلم عن فترة مهمة جدا في التاريخ بتاع جنوب السودان، وزي ما انت ملم انه في غلط كتير، في معلومات تاريخية غلط، وإدارة الحركة الشعبية لتحرير السودان للدولة بتاع جنوب السودان بقيادة بتاع سلفاكير من 2005 الناس زيل أداروا بلد بطريقة كعبة وخلت انه قبليه تبرز. انا مفروض الحلقه بتاعت بكره انا كنت داير اتكلم عن جنوب السودان، الديسنتجريشن والديسيونيتي بدت من وين. قال اننا شعب واحد، لكن لانه في قضايا سياسيه مهمه انا لازم اطرحها بكره، لذلك انا عارفه الحلقه دي ان شاء الله within a week اذا انا لقيت فرصه I will come and address that issue. فانا نديك فرصه استاذ جوليوس وتتكلم عن جنوب السودان، حكم جنوب السودان ما قبل الاستعمار، وتمشي بينا شكل الجنوب ده كان كيف. Please tell us. Go ahead. فرصة بتاعك.
Thank you. اولا داير اعتذر للناس اللي بيتكلموا عربي عشان المراجع كلها بالانجليزي، فالحلقه هتكون بالانجليزي. So my apology to those who speak Arabic. Also I would like to say congratulations for those you reached us milestone of subscribers. So congratulations for that. And thank you also for hosting me. You know, history is very important. History is, as Marcus Garvey said, is a guideline for a nation to stand still or to move forward. So South Sudan, because we are part of Sudan, so our history have been really obscured by the government or those who wrote the history of Sudan a long time ago. But thanks God for technology and also for those who was fortunate enough to, like myself, to go to Western country and study the history of Sudan from a different perspective. So today I will be talking just a brief history, because history of Sudan is thousands of years long. So I cannot unravel everything in one episode. But today I did really select some really some more important point that I'm really sure that South Sudanese, they need to know about this history. I will start first about who are we South Sudanese, because we find ourselves in a geographical location as a nation without really introducing ourselves to each other well, because the guy from Maban, from the far eastern South Sudan, he doesn't know much about the person in Anzara in western South Sudan. So I thought it's very important for us to visit the history and try to learn about ourselves. Maybe, I'm just saying maybe, hoping, being optimistic, as maybe will bring us closer. I'm not going to talk about the people of South Sudan today in particular, but I will talk about the history of South Sudan, how South Sudan constructed and became as political entity as we know today. So I will stop only because there's some history of South Sudan is well known by people.
Are you able to mix it also? Will you be able to mix it, try to mix it with Arabic, or is it possible?
I will try my best. I'll try.
Okay, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, because it's very hard to do translation, while I'm doing live straight away. But I will try my best. So first, I will start with ancient name of Sudan, because we are part of Sudan. Because the name South Sudan is a geographical location, nothing more, nothing less. So we were part of Sudan for so long, since the Turkish invasion to South Sudan. But there are some South Sudanese tribe who can trace their origin to northern Sudan, even as far as Egypt, if really that may surprise some of you, but that's true. So today I will start with the names, the name Sudan itself. So I don't know, Edward, if you can put that, Dr. Kane, part of that book that I send you.
Which one?
The name of the title of the book, and then that's the one that's marked the word Nigrosia with a yellow color.
Okay. Let me check it. Is this one?
No, not this one. Not this one. No.
Yeah, this is the one you sent me.
Okay, all right. I do have it here actually, but I don't know. I have to turn my camera off. But let us just skip that part. So the name Sudan actually is
did you send it to me?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So the name Sudan is a mistranslation by the Arab when they invaded northern Africa in the beginning of the Islamic expansion in Africa. So that's actually okay.
Yeah, you want that part only, right? You want that part only, right?
Yeah. If you can put the title of the book, that would be good. Then people can just go back and
Okay, I will put it also.
Yeah. Thank you.
The Egyptian Sudan or
no, the ethnology of the Egyptian Sudan. That's okay. If it's not there, I can just explain it to people, and I'm sure
you explain it, and actually I will put it up there.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So the ancient name, the Latin name of what we call today Africa, it was called Nigrosia, and it came from the word Negro. So Nigrosia means the land of the black. So when the Arabs invaded northern Africa, they tried to translate that term to Arabic. That's why it became Sudan. Because the people who say it's like Sudan is mean Bilad Sudan, but there's no word Bilad in the word Sudan. So it was a mistranslation by the Arab at that time. So Sudan was actually what we call today Mali, Senegal, and Gambia and Guinea. Those are the region that was called Sudan long time ago by the Greek, by the Roman at that time. But the ancient name of the Sudan, there was one of the oldest name of the Sudan is called Taaset, or also called Taaset. Some people pronounce it as Taaseti. That was in ancient time, in pharaonic period in Sudan. And also the other name, when Sudan united with Egypt, they were called Tawi. So the word Ta mean land in ancient Nile Valley language. The word Ta mean land, so Tawiz mean, because that's misunderstanding. Some others they said is mean the two land, others they said the word Wiz mean the heavenly Father. So whatever the side of argument is right, we're just gonna call the name only Tawi. Then later it was known as Wow What. So this name actually, Dr. John mentioned that name a few times. Wow What. So it's a wow. I don't know exactly what the wow mean, but what is mean the sun. It's SOD. SON. Yeah, that's the name of the book. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yes.
Ethnology of the Sudan. By Professor Kane. It was published in 1884. So I'm just going to read to you what Dr. Kane said. I will just read the first sentence. I'm not going to read the whole paragraph. The decline of Christian and the expansion of the Mohammedan. So Mohammedan here means Islam. Influence in many parts of North Africa in recent time are curiously illustrated by the fate of the term Nigrotia. So Nigrotia is actually a Latin name for Negro land. Even he put it there, Negro land, which in modern geographical nomenclature have been superseded by the synonym Arabic word Sudan, or more fully, Bilad Sudan, land of the black. This expression is properly applied to the whole region lying between the Atlantic and the Red Sea, and stretched from the Sahara and Egypt toward the equator. Thank you very much, Edward. Yeah. So this explains where the name Sudan came from. Okay. So back to the ancient name, and also Sudan was known as Par Nub. So the word Par is mean home, Nub is gold. So Par Nub, the home of the gold. That's the ancient names of the Sudan. So when the Greek invaded Egypt in 332, they changed they called the Sudan Ethiopia, or Ethiopias in Greek. So the Latin changed it to Ethiopia. So the name Ethiopia actually was the name of the Sudan. What the country we call Sudan today was called Ethiopia by the Greek. So it's Haile Selassie who changed the name, who took the name, because what we call Ethiopia today was called Abyssinia. So Haile Selassie took the old name of Sudan as the new name for the country, as we know today as Ethiopia. In the Roman period, in the Sudan was called Nubia, as the same as Nigrotia, because Nubia, when in Latin, when you added an A, which is mean land, like Georgia, Australia, Romania, Croatia, and those, example. So the Roman call it Nubia, as Bilad Sudan, the land we call Sudan today. When the Arabs start migrating to the country as we call Sudan today, they know the country as Bilad Nuba. So they use the old Latin name, Nubia. They translate it to Arabic, or they Arabalize the word to Bilad Nuba. So later on, they changed the name to Bilad Sudan. So Sudan was known as Bilad Sudan because the other one was known as Western Sudan. That's where the entire regions of Western Africa, from Senegal, Mali, Niger, all the way to Darfur, they were called Western Sudan. Then the other side of the Sudan was called the Eastern Sudan. So later, when the Turks invaded Sudan, so Sudan, the name was changed from Bilad Sudan to the Egyptian Sudan, our Sudan al-Masri, because it was under the Turkish rule. But the Sudan, as we know it today, was constructed by a man called Muhammad Ali. And this story started from in Europe, when Muhammad Ali was born in 1768 in a town called Kavala, in a country known today as Albania. So because Albania was part of the Turkish Empire at that time, so he was conscripted into the Turkish army, Muhammad Ali. And when the French invaded Egypt, he was sent as a deputy commander of the Albanian battalion who came to liberate Egypt from the France at that time. So by the sheer luck, he became the governor of Egypt at that time, because there was struggle power between those remnants of the people group who were ruling Egypt at that time, and they were called Mamalik. So he became Sheikh al-Bilad, and the ruler of that country at that time. So when he became Sheikh al-Bilad, then he was because the Sultan al-Osmani wanted to fight the second Saudi state, or Dawla Saudi Tanya. So Muhammad Ali, he sent his son Toulon to go and fight Al Saud at that time, but he was struggling to defeat them. So he went by himself, and he managed to defeat. He destroyed actually Dawla Saudi Tanya, and the region that Saudi became part of the Ottoman Empire at that time. So because when he went to war, Egypt became very broke, so they needed a source of revenue. So they looked southward to what we call Sudan today. So in 1820, he sent his younger son Ismail to invade Sudan, just to extract the resources, and also because slave trade was booming at that time. So he wanted also to control the slave trade. So his son came. At that time, Sudan was ruled by different states. It wasn't one country at that time. We have what we call in Arabic Mashayikh Jalin fi Shimal, and then you have Al Abdullah fi Center, and you have, although it was called the Dawlat al-Funy, but the Funy was overthrown by a group known as Hamaj in 1786. So when Muhammad Ali's son came, actually it wasn't the Funy who were ruling that country at that time. Then in South, of course, you have Cholo Kingdom. Then other tribes of South Sudan, they have their own sovereignty, although some of them are chiefdom, but they were independent sovereignty at that time. So when Ismail came and he invaded Sudan and he took over the country, then Sudan became under the Egyptian rule at that time. Then Sudan took that name that most people refer to in a history book as Egyptian Sudan. So he tried to invade Ethiopia, and they went to a brutal war by Ethiopia. So he was defeated, and he took some part of Ethiopia at that time. So when he took that part of Ethiopia, they have to turn southward. So in 1828, the Hakimdar of the Sudan, because Hakimdar is mean the Governor General of the Sudan in Turkish term. At that time, he invaded the Cholo Kingdom, and he fought with Cholo for almost 2 years. So they reached a treaty in 1830. So Fashoda became part of Sudan at that time from 1830. So I'm just then Muhammad Ali visited Sudan on the 23rd of November in 1839. When he visited to Sudan, Sudan was divided to what they call it Mudiriyat. So Mudiriya mean state or province in English term. And there was 8 Mudiriyat when Muhammad Ali came to Sudan in 1839. The first Mudiriya, not in a particular order, Fazguli, Sinar, Khartoum, Kassala, Berber, Dongula, Kordofan, and Fashoda. So the region what we call South Sudan today was called Fashoda, but not all of them was under the Turkish authority, because there's some region who are independent. Because when Fashoda was established as a Mudiriya, they created something they call Marrakech. So Marrakech is mean county in today's terms. So when Fashoda was established, after that, like about 25 years, 2 Marrakech was established. One is called Sobat. That was established as a military post by the Turks in 1855. And the other one was a trading post, was established by a British trader. His name John Petherick in 1855 in Denka village called Machararek in what we call today Bahr al-Ghazal. So the Equatorian came into what we call today the Equatoria, because that time there's nothing called Equatoria, came into what we call today South Sudan as actually a coincidence, because Pope Gregory XVI, actually, he wanted to preach gospel to the people of South Sudan. So he assigned the mission to an Austrian missionary society, was known as the Verona Fathers. So they're from Austria. Austria in Arabic is Nimsa today, and because they speak German. So they were sent by the Pope to come and open missionary in South Sudan. So when they came in 1848, actually they chosen a Barivili called Gondokro as their first station or first missionary station in Equatoria at that time. And he opened as missionary with father. The guy name is very hard to pronounce, but I will just try to spell it. So it's Knoblecher. So even this guy became the first Catholic bishop in Sudan. He was actually became the first bishop with Father Vinci. They created Gondokro, and they called us mission in German is called Heiligen Cross. In Latin, in Santa Cross, which is translated to English, is the Holy Cross in Gondokro. So when they established us missionary station, the Turkish, they established there something they call it a Markas. So they deploy army there just to protect the missionaries. So this is when Gondokro became a Markas from as part of Fashoda at that time, and the rest of Equatoria was still a free land. It wasn't part. They were not part of the Egyptian Sudan at that time. So Fashoda as a Mudiria, then you have three Marakis, as I mentioned. Kodok as its capital, and then you have Sobat, and then Machararek, then they have Gondokro. So the situation remained the same until the Khedive Ismail went through a pressure from the European country to suppress the slave trader. So in order to comply with the European demands, he appointed a man named Samuel Baker, because Samuel Baker was in Sudan before. He came as an explorer, so he went all the way to Lake Nyanza. I think that's what called today as Lake Victoria. So when he went back, he wrote a lot of report that was so really disturbing for the European about the condition in Sudan and the slave trade. So he was appointed by Khedive. Khedive is Khedive in Arabic, those who speak Arabic, of Egypt at that time, Ismail. And that was in 1869. So he was assigned by the Khedive to do some. The assignment actually was put in a 5-point. One is to subdue the country beyond Gondokoro. So he was assigned by the Khedive to bring the country or the land in southern Gondokoro to Egyptian Sudan. The second, to suppress the slave trade. Number 3 is to introduce a system of regular commerce. So because those who were doing trade in South Sudan were slave raiders, and they were, causing a lot of destruction and so much pain and sorrow to South Sudanese. So the Khedive wanted to have a very regulated trade between South Sudan and Egypt at that time, and to open the equatorial lakes, the region that's called equatorial lakes. I will explain that's the name equatorial, where it's come from, for navigation, because it was very hard for somebody to move from Khartoum all the way to go to Gondokoro. So Khedive Ismail wanted the road to be open to clear the Nile, and also to number 5 is to establish a chain of a military station and commercial posts. So we have to create some military station along the way, so to guide those who are doing trade in South Sudan at that time. So in the 8th of February 1870, Samuel Baker arrived in Fashoda to seek the permission from the Cholo king to establish his first post in Cholo land. So he chose a place people know it as Tofiria. So he chose this place to be the first post in military post in South Sudan. And Tofiria, actually, he named it Tofiria as a symbolic gesture to the Khedive at that time, because he's the crown prince of Egypt was named Tawfiq. That's Ismail's son. So who can wali al-ahd bita Ismail. So he named that thing as a gesture to Al-Basha Tawfiq, because he was wali al-ahd, or the crown prince at that time. So he stayed in that station after he established Tawfiqiyya. He stayed there for a while, almost about 6 months. And because most people used to, I hear a lot of people saying that Tawfiqiyya was established as a capital to the city for Upper Nile or for Shora. No, Tawfiqiyya was never a capital of Upper Nile state. And so, yeah, so when he went all the way to Kondokro, and when he went to Kondokro, he was appointed as a mudir of Kondokro. So this is when Kondokro became a mudiria. So now, in that date, in 1871, we have 2 mudiriyat in South Sudan, Kondokro and Fashora. So the rest of Bahr Ghazal was still called part of Fashora at that time. So Kondokro was the land from Kondokro southward was named as Kondokro. Then later, Samuel Becker changed the name to Ismailia. So Equatoria today was called Ismailia for 2 years. That was his name. Even Samuel Becker wrote a book called Ismailia. Yeah, he mentioned all the details about his government, the people, and how he was running there and the conditions of the South Sudanese in that region. So when his term finished, he was succeeded by another Englishman, and his name was Charles Gordon. So Charles Gordon was appointed by Khedive as a successor of Samuel Becker. So when Charles Gordon went to Kondokro, he changed the name from Ismailia to the Equatoria. So it's called Equatorial. It's not actually what's called Equatoria, Equatorial Mudiria at that time. And he moved the capital city from Kondokro to a place called Lado. I don't know if Lado is northern Juba or southern Juba. I'm not sure, but people they can correct me on that thing. So when he changed the name to Equatorial, so the question is where the name Equatorial came from. In 1859, a British explorer, he was an a British army officer by the name Richard Francis Burton. He's the first one who reached to the Great Lake of Central Africa. So he wrote a book, and the book was titled The Lake Region of Central Equatorial Africa. So Charles Gordon took the name because northern Uganda became part of the new region, the new Mudiria that he was head of. So he just named it Equatoria because just from that book, Now we come back to the story of Bahr Ghazal, how Bahr Ghazal became a Mudiria. So the story started with a man named Zubair Basha. So most of the people those who study history of Sudan, they know who is Zubair Basha. He was a notorious slave trader, and he was really a powerful man, and he commanding a very big army at that time. So in order to suppress the slave trader, Charles Gordon advised the Khedive of Egypt to put Zubair Basha in house arrest in Egypt. And by the way, people said Zubair Basha was a Sudanese. He wasn't a Sudanese. Zubair Basha, his full name is Zubair ibn Rahma ibn Mansour al-Ghanimi. So he actually Iraqi originally who was living in Egypt. So he was going to Sudan only for slave trade, nothing else, because the title Basha itself, it wasn't given to anybody because it's the highest class in Egypt. So Zubair was the first person. If he was Sudanese, I don't think Khedive wouldn't give him the title Basha, But because he moved there, he was doing business there. So, and also, they're paying a royalty to the corrupt Turkish official in Sudan at that time. So when he was put in a house arrest in Egypt, his son, his name was Ismail, was not happy. So he, in early 1878, he declared himself as a sultan of a region because his father used to have something called Zeriba, Diem Zubair. That's why he could come in summer, collect the slave and the loots he took from South Sudanese, and he will take them to Egypt. So he is actually like a summer camp, Diem Zubair, when he established that place. So his son annexed Bahr Ghazal as an independent state because he was so powerful because his father left him a very big army when he was detained in Egypt. So he declared himself a sultan of Bahr Ghazal. And the name Bahr Ghazal itself is the name of the river. It actually wasn't a name of the state at that point. but because Bahr al-Ghazal is a river just in a border between Sudan and South Sudan in northern Bahr al-Ghazal. So the name came from Chad, believe it or not. Even in Chad today, there's a region called Bahr al-Ghazal, because Arabs, when they came through Chad at that time. So because that region of Bahr al-Ghazal, that river resembled Bahr al-Ghazal, that's what's in Chad, because there was a lot of Ghazal in that region. So they just renamed it as Bahr al-Ghazal. Also the Europeans did that when they went to America. They call it New York. They just name all those cities after the cities in Europe. So they just name it that's river Bahr al-Ghazal. So Zubair called that region Bahr al-Ghazal as his independent state. So because Charles Gordon was the governor of Equatoria at that time, so he sent one of his officers, and his name was Romello Gessi. So Romello Gessi went to suppress Ismail ibn Zubair rebellion, and he killed Ismail. So after he killed Ismail, and then Charles Gordon appointed him as a governor of that newly established state, Bahr al-Ghazal. So then after that, the Mahdi state started, the rebellion of the Mahdi at the time. So that's where the name Bahr al-Jabal came from, because most people don't know where the name Bahr al-Jabal came from. During the Mahdi time, Khalifa Abdullah Ta'aishi, he sent one of his Amir, and his name is Osman Azraq, to go and conquer the land of Gondokro. So when he conquered Gondokro, he called it Bahr al-Jabal as equivalent to Bahr al-Ghazal. That's what established by Ismail ibn Zubair Bash a long time ago. And he made Rajaf as his capital at that time. So that's happened in November 1888. This is when the name Bahr al-Jabal came from. So now we came to Lado Enclave, because this is very, very important, because people was arguing a lot about Lado Enclave. Was it a part of South Sudan? Was it not? How big it was? When the British reconquered Sudan from the Mahdi at that time, there was some tribes of South Sudan. They were not part of that state, even during the Mahdi time. One of those tribes was Azande. So Azande, they were independent all these years until 1905, when Wingate, the guy who succeeded Kitchener, sent Major British officer by the name Major Bolognos, governor of Bahr al-Ghazal at the time, and Captain Sunderland to go and subdue the Azande. So when they went at that time, Azande were two kingdoms, wasn't actually one kingdom. So there was one kingdom in the north was ruled by a king, Tumbura. Then the other one in the south, Azande kingdom in the south, was ruled by King Yambio at that time. So Tumbura actually agreed to the terms that was offered by the British, because Tumbura was fighting a notorious slave trader named Idris, and Idris even he have a Zariba, just northern Azande land, and he is called Dem Idris. That's his Zariba. So Tumbura, King Tumbura saw the British as a relief, so he accepted. But Yambio refused, because he wanted to be independent, because Yambio kingdom was so big. It was extend all the way to northern Western Congo. So it was a very big land, and he refused, because the Belgium were advancing from the south and the British coming from the north. So he chose to fight, and he fought to death. King Yambio is one of the heroes of South Sudan, and he was shot on the 7th of February, 1905. So he died on the 8th. So on the 8th of February, 1905, Azande joined South Sudan. The last tribe to join South Sudan was our cousin Anywa. Anywa, they've been independent since 1914, when they fought the British for the First War, and they defeat the British. Actually, Anywa, they defeat the British, but the British allied themselves with the Nuer, and they gave the Nuer almost 400 new rifles of guns, and they managed to defeat the Anuak. So they divided the Anuak land. They gave some to Ethiopia, and some remain as part of South Sudan, just to to as a precaution, because they didn't want Anuak to rebel, or so they have to divide them. And this is why today we have Gambela as part of Ethiopia, and the rest of Anuak land part of the Sudan. So after the British, what happened is when the French occupied Fashoda, and the British, they claimed all the territory that was part of the Mahdi state belonged to them. And the French also said, because they were there first, so they claimed Fashoda. So there was, a tension between the British and the French at that time. So the British make a deal with Belgium, with King Leopold II, to, in case if the British goes to war with France, so Belgium will side the British. So in return, Belgium will be given land from part of South Sudan. So they make two treaties. The one is called Anglo-Congolese Treaty. I think that was signed in 12th of May, 1894. And the one is called Sir William McConnell Treaty. And actually, Sir William McConnell Treaty does create a corridor that's stretched from Burundi all the way to Lado Incliffe. So Lado Incliffe actually extend all the way to Burundi, and all the western Uganda was part of Lado Incliffe at that time. So it was a very big territory at that time. But in the Anglo-Congolese agreement, in Article 2 said that the lease will end when the King Leopold II died. So when he died, so the region went back to South Sudan at that time. So then the rest became part of Uganda. Then the rest went back to Belgium, and later they became Burundi and Rwanda, as we know them today. So this is what I can say about the brief history about South Sudan. There's a lot to unravel, and I wish one day, we will talk even about the ancient time and the relationship between South Sudanese tribe with Egypt, because for my really brief study, I find out that's hieroglyph, the language of ancient Egyptian is actually ancient Yoluo language. I know that may sound surprise to many of you, but that's true, and have a lot of evidence to prove that. So thank you very much, Edward, and I will more than happy to take any question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Brother Julius, for the very wonderful presentation. And I'm going to open the floor to those actually want to ask a question. To my brother, there is someone here, I think what name? Wondomberg, something like that. Actually, Julius is not reading. He's actually live in Facebook and YouTube. You can watch him live. He's not actually in the clubhouse here, my brother. So, Julius, before actually I open the room, and also let me welcome Ambassador Emmanuel. I can see Ambassador Emmanuel in the room also. If also you will want to add some point, or you want to make comment on what have been said by Brother Julius. There is actually a comment here in Clubhouse by someone, his name called Aboya. He's actually he's asking, saying, please, can you highlight us the king of Shuluk, who ruled Egypt for 10 years? And that will be before the Greek and the Arab enters in the Egypt. Julius, can you talk about that before we? I'm going to open the hand. Yes.
You see, Bashmandis, that's a big problem with South Sudanese. The names are confusing us. The name Shuluk is a modern term. It's a new name, Cholo. It's not even old. So name Cholo, they have been called Cholo, I think, after 1545. So before that, they were called Joluo. So when he said the Cholo king, at that time there was no Cholo. But when we talk about ancient Egyptian, if he talk about the Meroic kingdom, they invaded Egypt, yes, and they're known as the Kushite dynasty, the 25th dynasty. They ruled Egypt from the king Kaiser, although the name was mispronounced, to Tantamani. So that's the, the family of, Pianchi or Banchi, Tirhaka. Yeah, there was a lot of kings who ruled 25th dynasty who ruled Egypt at that time, but they went there to chase away the Assyrian who invaded Egypt at that time. So the Greek, by the time when the Greek came, Egypt was ruled by Persian, was not ruled by the rule of the last dynasty to rule is actually the 25th dynasty, because the Egyptologists actually, they having a lot of argument. Can they call the foreigners who invaded Egypt as part of Egyptian civilization or no? But the simple answer is no, because those people, they were not the same as the people who built pyramids and built the civilization. Those were invaders, so they cannot be classified as part of ancient Egyptian civilization. So the last, dynasty to rule was the 25th dynasty, also known as the Nubian dynasty, also called as Kushite dynasty. Yeah, and the ancient Yolua. Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Even Pianchi actually have three names. Pianchi, and he also called Mary Amin, and he also called Mary Aluro. Aluro actually is the ancient name of the River Nile. So yeah, so you can say they're ancient Yolua, but you cannot say they are Shuluk. So I hope I answered that.
Yeah, thank you so much. Actually, let me welcome Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin, the chairman of NDM and also NDM PF, and one of the South Sudanese opposition movement. Before I actually give him the floor, the stage, the mic, I want you to also to clear one point you talked about it earlier. You talk about Lado, because there is a lot of confusion, and we are talking about the history here today. Let's make it very clear. We talk about where did the name Lado come from, and also I want you to highlight the South Sudanese actually, because there is two mixture. There is people saying there is in that area there was Lado Kingdom and Lado Incliffe, and you just talk about that. So can you clear that, Brother Julius?
Of course, for sure. You know what? The name Lado didn't come from thin air. You know, there was kingdoms. Yeah, you can say a lot of our history is missing. You know, due to lack of documentation. You know, also when the British, those who wrote history, they were biased. Yes, there was a lot of kingdoms that was in that region at that time, and like what I said, name Lado didn't come from nowhere, and it was ancient name. And the question is when it was a kingdom, because if you can see some of the tribes, for example, you have large tribes, you have Bari speakers. They call them Bari speakers, but they are Kiro group. They speak one language. What made them speak one language? That means they were one. They were part of one state. That's why they spoke the same language. The same to us, Joluo. You know why we speak the same language? Because we were part of one state. We all were one. Pari, Choli, Luo, Bahar Ghazal. There were times we were one. That's why we speak one language. You know. So a lot of history is actually lost, right? So one of those kingdoms that's lost is Lado Kingdom. You know. Because there's no a lot of information about it, that doesn't mean it's not exists, you know. So even Lotuko, by the way, or Udugo and Lokoya, they have similarity with Bari in their language. So you have to ask yourself where this similarity came from. So that's mean in a point of time, those people, they were one. So they split, then the accent developed. So they over time, so the language changed, you know. Yes, there were one people and they were one under one authority. Whether the name was Lado, was called, you know, whatever it was, there was a state who was there before, you know. And like what I said, now many people thought that Zambia was one kingdom, but actually there were two, you know. So we need to research a lot rather than just denying facts as it's not exist. Because I believe this name cannot just come from nowhere, you know. And but speakers, they cannot speak one language without something connecting them in the past. Same go to Joluo, same go to Denka Nuer. They were one group in certain time in history, then they split. So history is about, you know, it's dynamic, you know, things change, names even they change, you know. So yes, I will say Lado Kingdom was exist, but we don't know much about it. That's what I can say.
Yeah,
So,
thank you so much, my brother Julius. And actually, you did not talk about the South Sudan today. How did Anglo-Egyptian actually they resemble the so-called South Sudan? But let leave it. Let give chance to Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin because I want him also in his comment to. I want you because still we have some time. أنا داير تحاول تتكلم جنوب السودان الليلة ده الريسمبلينج بتاعه تجميع بتاعه.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. You see, do you remember that book I told you I couldn't find?
Yes.
In that book, there's a conference called Rajaf Linguistic Conference in 1927. Many South Sudanese didn't know about that. This is actually when the decision was made for South Sudan to become independent from North Sudan. And also there's a recommendation of 1925. That's what known as, Al-Manatik al-Maqfula,
Yes.
So all of those that were there, and how the British, they see South Sudan, how they want us to be, in that conference, Rajaf conference in 1927.
Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin, actually, he has that in his mind. He talked about it before. So let me welcome that, and also we'll come back to you, Julius. It's very important to talk about the history today, especially this topic. سفير إيمانويل أجاوين مرحبا بك أخوي ومعلش يعني شغلة كده أنت قمت جينا متأخر بدينا شوية لكن also is good. I know you will pick it up where you pick it up and actually you will add what actually can benefit South Sudanese. براك أنت شايف الوضع في جنوب السودان والليلة اتكلمنا عن التاريخ ونديك الفرصة. وانا برضه سالت قبل شويه جوليوس، طبعا جوليوس اتكلم قبل بانجليزي، انا قلت له يعمل ميكس هو ما قدر، but I know you will be able to mix it. الباقي بتاعت الحلقه ده لينا يا ريت امباسادور ايمانويل also you can mix عشان الناس اللي بيجوا بعدين ورا من المشاهدين يحاول، لانه جوليوس اتكلم عن كلام مهم جدا قبل، ويا ريت جوليوس بعد امباسادور انا كومنت اللي قدام حاول try to mix it عشان اننا دايرين المعلومه دي تصل للشعب بتاعنا، الشعب بتاع جنوب السودان يصل لهم الفكره ده بالذات، لانه الكونفيوجن الموجود الليله والمشاكل بتاعت غياب السلطه المركزيه والصراعات الموجوده الليله بيجي في ديرس a lot of confusion، والقضايا دي محتاجين نوضح للناس كتاريخ ونحن بدينا من وين. مؤتمر بتاع الرجاف امباسادور ايمانويل اجاوين اكشولي عنده معلومه في النقطه ده، يتوقع about it قبل كده في one of the road show تقريبا هنا في صوت الشعب. and I hope also انا كان عندي تقريبا الوثيقه ده بتاعت المؤتمر بتاع الرجاف كونفرنس but I'm not sure انا خدته وين. المهم نحن هنرجع لك استاذ جوليوس، سفير ايمانويل والناس المشاهدين في كلاب هاوس those are listening to كلاب هاوس. استاذ جوليوس actually he is with me live in Facebook and YouTube, and that while he is speaking through me in Clubhouse. So, Ambassador, the floor is yours. Sabah al-khair, my brother.
باشمهندس صباح الخير لك. مساء النور عندنا هنا. خليني كمان أسلم للضيف بتاعك أستاذ جوليوس، وخليني أسلم كمان للناس المستمعين بتاعنا. الغرفة مليانة وخليني أسلم لهم يعني سلام شديد. أنا بس كنت حبيت السؤال بتاعك أنا فاهمه باشمهندس حسب ما يختص بالرجاف هذا باللادو إنكليف وعند إيشو بتاع اللادو كينجدوم. أنت وقت سألت أفتكر جوليوس did not get the context of your question، لكن أنا هضيف حاجة. طبعا أيامات من بدري شوية في جنوبين كتار بيفتكروا بإنه لادو إنكليف ده كان في حاجة اسمه لادو كينجدوم منفصل من الجنوب انفصال تام، وكان ما جزء من الجنوب كدولة. Okay, that is not true. and also في ناس كتار هنا من إخوة مثقفين بتاع الجنوبين هم قاعدين هنا في المنبر، لو زول عنده أدلة وفي ريفرنس ودل بإنه لادو إنكليف كان كينجدوم منفصلة من السودان ممكن يجي فوق ونحن نناقش. لادو زي ما قال الأخ جوليوس، وأنا ما نرجع بإنه الخلفية هو تكلم فوقه، خاصة بالإداريات اللي كانت موجودة، لو بقى فشودة ولا بقى كوندوكورو. للحمية بانه في نفرين ضحايا يعني جابوا من الحكومه التركيه. ده كان بيكر، سامويل بيكر. هو الاول زول مشى in 1860 something واسس administrative area في كوندوكورو. لكن بعد ما هو مشى وتم تعيين بتاع جوردن باشا، تشارلز جوردن. تشارلز هو اللي قام من كوندوكورو وحاول العاصمه لسنو لبتاع إكواتوريا للادو. كان ما لادو انكليف that time، كان لادو، حاولوا لادو. now the issue بتاع لادو انكليف جاء 200. issue بتاع لادو انكليف جاء كنتيجه بتاع طموحات الامبراطوريه البريطانيه، خاصه في areas بتاع تنزانيا ومحلات ده. كان في جزء من اراضي بريطانيا was interested in، فاتفقوا اتفاق سري مع كينج ليوبولد بتاع كونغو، لانه كينج ليوبولد كان ماسك كونغو زمن داك. فقام قالوا بانه في اريا ان انكليف، يعني عملوا انكليف، شفتها مساحه بتاع الاريا ده. الاريا ده كان اريا صغيره جدا، يعني في جزء من شمال يوغندا الان، وجزء من كونغو، وجزء من سنترال إيكواتوريا. I'm sure within the Lado enclave الماب الموجود 3/4 بتاع ايسترن إيكواتوريا ما كان موجود فيها. فالانكليف ده it was actually leased. يعني في القانون مهم نسمع الكلمات. في حاجه اسمه ليز ما اعرف يسموه شنو بالعربي. يعني في اشترايا باج مهندس في جنين في حاجه بيسموه ابسولوت، وكنت تشتري الارض، وفي حاجه اسمه ليز. يعني ليز ده ايجار.
يس ايجار.
ايوه. فالحكومه البريطانيه هم هجروا اللادو انكليف ده لكينج ليوبولد لمده حياه بتاعه. يعني الكونتراكت بيقول بانه as long as Leopold is alive الانكليف ده بيكون تابع له. اوكي، لكن لو حصل حادث وكينج ليوبولد مات، اللادو انكليف هيرجع لبريطانيا. اوكي، فانا رسبت هنا من لادو انكليف كان ما ترتري بالذات، يعني ما كان دولة منفصلة وأمة بنفسه وبر من الجغرافية المستعمرة الموجودة. اوكي، وكل ليوبولد اتوفى in 1910 اوكي على سبب الكونتراكت. لادو انكليف رجع. اوكي، لانه was leased، يعني was leased، كانوا بهجروا له. it went back to the British and the Egyptian. اوكي، وبقى جزء من الجنوب. اما ان لادو كينجدوم ده انا منتظر زول يجيني بوثيقه يتكلم لي عن لادو كينجدوم. انا I've never heard anything about لادو كينجدوم. لكن لو كان نتكلم بانه القبائل اللي كانت هناك هي قبائل كان عندها سلاطين، yes that's true. Many of the tribes هناك في لادو areas بتاع Equatoria, yes they had their chiefs, some of them had their kings. لكن as to have a kingdom that was known as Lado kingdom ده حاجه انا ما مرت به. ممكن استاذ جوليوس ممكن يقول لي لو مر به، والناس المستمعين تحت لو في زول مره بكتاب اسمه حال اسمه لادو انكليف لادو كينجدوم ممكن يجي يقول لنا بانه في لادو كينجدوم and we would like to hear it from them. لانه مهم نحن نتكلم في اطار التوثيق. So this is what I could say on this issue. اما الحاجه الثانيه كنت بدي اتكلم فيه ده الاداره بتاع المستعمر البريطاني والمصري بما يسمى the condominium rule اللي كانت موجوده. هي الحكومه اللي كانت المشتركه، الحكم الثنائي بتاع بريطانيا ومصر. هي مرت بمرحلتين. المرحله الاول بتاع البريطانيين هي كان تهدئه بتاع القبائل، لانه القبائل يعني بعد ما هم سيطروا للسودان كان في تمرد من قبل القبائل في جنوب السودان زي ما against the British. انت كمان the Anuak kingdom معروف في سنة 1912. the Anuak were fighting British، هم شاكلوا British واكبر casualties في the Imperial Britain في السودان ده كان في معارك بتاعهم مع نيوك. they were defeated في محل اسمه I think بيسموه عديد في هناك منطقة بتاع نيوك. And this also was a serious problem, serious blow to the British. Later on عندك for example الثورة بتاع ناس الياب كمان اتمردوا ضد البريتش, and I think they even killed one of the governors بتاع former governor بتاع Equatoria.
No, it was a British officer. His name is Scott Babur.
Yeah, Scott Babur. Scott Babur was killed by the Aliap. Lana Aliap, they raised up against them and they defeated them. You know, so this was one also of the revolution. In the also the Nuer revolution. هم كمان قتلوا commissioner وقطعوا يده وكانوا بيلعبوا به اللونجارة. And not only that, يعني ثورة النوير يعني it was one of the successful revolutions لأنه نوير أول ناس ينزلوا طيارة في إفريقيا ككل. يعني أول نيتيف ينزل في ينزلوا طيارة ما بي RPG ولا بسام 7 لكن بالحربة ده كان نوير. نويراوي المهمة لحسب القصة ركب في راس شجرة فوق. فطارات البريطانية زمان طبعا طارات دي بينو البايلوت بيكون كاشف فبيجي فيري لو لأنه عارف إنه نيتيف ما عندهم سلاح وحروا ووصل له. ففي واحد دس في شجرة وبيستوق الطيارة جا قريب وجدها الحربة وطعن البايلوت وبايلوت وقع والطيارة وقع. شفتها؟ That's the first time an airplane was shot down in Africa. It was shot in the Nuer land. For this is what was happening. In no situation, it was tribes resisting the imperial condominium rule, الحكم الثنائي البريطاني المصري. So what did the British do? The British في سياساتهم الأول في phase 1 they wanted to have full control. شفتها؟ ويفرض الهيبة بتاع السلطة بتاعهم كنيو كحكومة جديدة. فسياساتهم في الفترات الأولى كانت بإنه كيف يتحكموا على القبائل اللي كانت موجودة. وفعلا they came up with different administration وكده فقدروا يسيطروا على الوضع. الحاجة الثانية المهم جدا لابد بإنه نشير عليه بريطانيين الرجوع بتاعهم لاستعمار بتاع السودان ككل كان حاجة واحدة وحاجة مهم جدا. أنا ما أعرف لو ناس كتار ولا ما أعرف لو أستاذ جوليس يتكلم عنه. في 1890 something في مصر في كايرو كان في اجتماع مهم جدا ندوة. في واحد انجينير
Victor his name is Victor.
Victor is an hydrologist engineer. قدم presentation في كايرو يونيفرسيتي بتاع American University وكان بيتكلم بإنه في المستقبل مصر لو في دولة من الدول بتاع المنبع ولا أي دول استعماري خاصة في جنوب مصر ممكن يحدد الأمن المصري القومي. فقام حدد منطقة قال له في أي دولة من الدول بنى سد في فشودة ده هيتأثر بالمجرى بتاع المياه الماشي لمصر وده زول ده هيحدد بعد كده المستقبل السياسي بتاع مصر لأنه حياة بتاع المصريين هيكون في يده. ده كان في ندوة. الكلام ده مشى للحكومة الفرنسية. بريطانيا ما اهتموا به كتير وهنا ذاك الحكومة البريطانية الحكومة الفرنسية كان عندهم نوايا كان عندهم حاجة اسمه The African Co. ديل كان الناس اللي يفتكروا بإنه عندهم وصية إلهية بإنه يستعمروا إفريقيا ويستقروا في إفريقيا. فهم طوالي قعدوا وخططوا بإنه كيف يمشوا لمنبع المحل الزود يتكلم فوق فشودة عشان يقدروا يسيطروا لمنطقة. وقام رسلوا واحد اسمه مرشان. قصة طويلة. قبل مرشان كان في واحد كمان رسلوه قبله لكن المرشان هو الزول اللي وصل من السنغال لأنه وصل فشودة. فالبريطانيين وكسمعوا بإنه الفرنسيين وصلوا لعدو فشودة وعندهم كونفوي كان جاي من السنغال ووصل. البريطانيين طوال غيروا سياساتهم تجاه السودان. ليه؟ لأنه they felt بإنه مصر is a strategic to them. لانه السويس كانال they were trying to build it لانه هيكون الشورت كات بين اوروبا واسيا. لما دام يجوا زمان طبعا بمشوا بكيب تاون، بمشوا باتلانتيك اوشن، من هناك يا عيد بمشوا للسنغال، من السنغال بيجوا تحت لأدي شفتها كيب تاون ساوث افريقيا، يمشوا لاسيا بهناك، مسافه بعيده جدا. فدايرين يكتشفوا الطريق القصير بتاع السويس كانال. مصر بقى استراتيجيك لبريطانيا، فبقى حاجتين، سويس كانال استراتيجيكلي ومويه. فهم فكروا بانه لو خلوا الفرنسيين يستقروا ويسنوا يستقروا في منطقه فشوره، ده معناهم هيحددوا السياسه المصريه وهيقولوا للبريطانيين الحاجه هم دايرينه. شفت؟ they'll be putting their demands. والزمن ده طبعا مصر ذاته يعني ما you don't forget بانه الفرنسيين طردوا من مصر للبريطانيين، فعندهم سوابق. فده الاسباب اللي خلي بريطانيا يراجع استراتيجيات بتاعه تجاه السودان. بعدين قرروا بانه بيعملوا انفيشن. قبليه كان ما فاضيين لانه حكومه المهدي مات، عبد الله تعاشي جو وما عنده قوه يحددهم. فوقت لاحظوا بانه الفرنسيين دايرين يثبتوا لهم بيس في منطقه بتاع فشوده، قام البريطانيين رسلوا الاسبيديشن بتاعه تحت لورد كيشنر مع المصريين. ولورد كيشنر طبعا زول جزار. to many of you who don't know him, لورد كيشنر كان موجود في ساوث افريكا في حرب بتاع بوس، و he committed genocide. ده زول يعمل concentration camp وقاتل في الصين، فزول مقاتل شرس جدا. فبريطانيا رسلوه عشان هو يمشي يسد التار بتاع جوردون بلاس also السياسات الغيرة. المهم ده كان نقطة كمان مهم بتاع فشودة انسيدنت بتاع 1898. ده مكتوب في كتب كثيرة جدا، أنا هديكم ريفرنسز في نهاية الكلام بعدين. لكن نرجع للسياسات البريطانية. فالسياسات البريطانية الأولى الحاجة اللي كان مهم بإنه they wanted to stop slavery، السوق الرقيق اللي كانت حاصل في جنوب السودان. ففي فكرة ده هم حاولوا يأسسوا جيش قومي كنوايا كنوايا بتاع الجيش بتاع جنوب السودان، عشان الجنوبيين يقدروا يحموا نفوسهم من العرب ومن السوق الرقيق الحاصل حصل لهم يعني من زمن الناس زبير باشا. فقام كونوا حاجه بسموه إيكواتوريان كو. إيكواتوريان كو زي ما انا قلت قبل كده في الفيديوهات بتاعي، ده كان النموذج الاول للجيش بتاع جنوب السودان. اتأسست I think 1920s بدري شديد. إيكواتوريان كو كان متكون من 4 كمباني. عندك إيكواتوريا 1 كمباني 1 كمباني 2 كمباني 3 and 4.
Go ahead Julius. Julius عنده comment تقريبا.
The Equatorian Battalion, that was called. It was created by Wingate in 1912. Yeah, they're the one who rebelled actually in Yambio.
Yes.
So it was mistakenly called us as Zande Rebellion.
Yeah, for Equatorian Co ده كان ده فاز تم عشان يأسسوا الجيش القومي بتاع جنوب السودان. فإيكواتوريان كو كان متكون من 4 companies. عندك company number 1, number 2, number 3 and number 4. company number 1 and number 2 كانت في إيكواتوريا. company number 1 mostly من Eastern Equatoria. company number 2 كان purely mostly لاتوكا. الهيد كوارترز بتاعهم كان في توري. ديل بعدين يعوا بيكونوا ذاته جزء من الموتني اللي حصل سنة 55. أما company number 3 كان في على النيل، وكمباني نمبر 4 كان في بار غزال. في على النيل كان متكون من قبائل على النيل 5 7. عندك الشلوق، عندك المرلي، عندك الدينكا، عندك النوير، عندك انيواك وهكذا. وفي بار غزال the same thing، عندك الدينكا والقبائل الفراتيد الموجوده. This was the first army attempt بتاعهم بانه ياسسوا الجيش. الحاجه الثانيه هم they wanted to look at the education. هم البريطانيين كان عندهم سياسه بانه الجنوب هم دايرين يكون عنده هويه مختلفه من الشمال السودان، لان هويه الشمال السودان هي هويه عربيه اسلاميه. فالبريطانيين كان دايرين هويه مسيحيه افريقيه في الجنوب. لكن عشان انت تقدر تاسس هويه كريستيان ويكون افريقيه، كان لابد بانه تفتح مدارس عشان تعلم الناس. فقام عملوا حاجه بسموه the Rajaf Linguistic Conference or Rajaf Language Conference. عملوها في الرجاف in 1928. في الرجاف كونفرنس اتفقوا بانه هيكون في 6 لغات اللي هيدرسوا بيسموه اللغات الام the mother tongues في المدارس في الجنوب. اللغات اللي اختاروا افتكر لغه الدنكا، لغه الشلوك، لغه النوير، لغه اللاتوكا، لغه الباري، ولغه الزاندي. دي 6 اللغات اللي اختاروا من الانجليز بانه this هيكون اللغه بتاع الانسترومنت بتاع teaching في جنوب السودان. And this was what was known as the Rajaf Language Conference of 1928. ده كان سياساتهم في ما يختص بالفيز 1. بعد ما ثبتوا انفسهم في this phase 1 هم بعد كده بقوا ركزوا بانه كيفيه حكم الجنوب باداره. يعني اول فيز هم انتهوا منه. الفيز الثاني بانه يشتغلوا كيف جنوب تبقى دوله مستقله وتبقى دوله عندها سياده ويكون يعني يا تابع ليوغندا يا دوله يعني واقف على السياده بتاعه. ده كان السياسات بتاعهم. السياسات ده غيرت سنه 1936. in 1936 المصريين عملوا agreement مع البريطانيين بإيشو بتاع السويس. ف one of the demand بتاع مصر بإنه السودان لازم يكون entirely left to them. يكون السودان تابع لهم. ف وينجت في سياسات وغير اتجاه الجنوب ما دام يكون يعني الانفصال واما الجنوب تنضم ليوغندا. they decided بانه بعد كده وانا قريته قبل كده بانه جنوب now الفيت بتاعكم مع الشمال you know so you now you part and parcel of شمال. قام الجوفرنرز بتاع الريجن بتاع جنوب خاص especially بتاع إيكواتوريا he protested. قال لهم كيف انتم تغيروا السياسات وانتم ما كلمتونا كجوفرنرز and this is not good. عندما كان سياساتنا قام الوينجيت خجل and he felt embarrassed. قام استعجل ونادى حاجه بيسموه the Juba Conference بتاع 1947. الريزون behind Juba Conference بانه يجيبوا جنوبين ويحاول يعمل لهم مسرحيه كان ده الناس ما وراي جنوبين. لكن اصلا decision was already made. decision was made بانه جنوب هيكون تابع للسودان whether they like it or not. وفعلا في Juba Conference لو شفتها جنوبين اتقسموا بين المثقفين والسلاطين. السلاطين كان بيقولوا بانه نحن ما جاهزين كناس عشان يجي يضمونا للشمال. we need more time in terms of education in terms of facilities وبعد كده نفكر في انضمام. اما المثقفين بتاع الجنوبين هنا ذاك في الكونفرنس البريطانيين عملوا لهم بروميس مع المصريين والشماليين بانه الوظائف الشاغره بتاع السودانايزيشن اللي كانت 800 وظيفه جزء منكم هيشتغلوا في الوزارات دي. شفتها؟ فهم most of them صوتوا I mean they were pro السودان يكون موحد مع جنوب ما يكون يعني منفصل وكده. قام البريطانيين استعجلوا and then they made the first parliament اللي كان عملوه 1948 or 49 اللي كان جنوبيين ممثلين فوقها. وده كان البرلمان اللي later on قرر بانه السودان يعلن استقلاله في داخل البرلمان. ده الاضافه انا كنت حبيت ازيدها for time being. Thank you باشمهندس.
Very good. Very good. Thank you very much Ambassador Emmanuel. شكرا جزيلا للإضافة بتاعك. وأنا زي ما أنا ذكرت قبل إنه برضو خلينا نرحب بأخوي موسيس وأخوي داوود. مرحبا بكم في الستيج. زي ما قبل جوليوس يمكن كلام اللي قاله Ambassador حسن جوليوس قبل he talk about it. قبل ما نمشي لموسيس جوليوس لو أنت جاي تعليق في إيضاحات ده تاريخ هنا مهم لأنه زي ما أنا قلت في البداية قبل الانترودكشن في غلط كبير جدا وبقى في ريرايتنج للهيستوري بتاع جنوب السودان وده خالق ديفيجن اللي شايفين الليله ده. ولو هنا ما انتبهنا كويس بدينا ناخد التاريخ في المحله بتاع جنوب السودان. جنوب السودان ممشي في اتجاه انا افتكر اتجاه ما كويس. وانا زي ما انا ذكرت قبل كويس جوليوس is here Ambassador Emmanuel is here, Moses and the rest. أنا هنا مفروض زي ما أنا قلت قبل بكرة نتكلم عن هل نحن شعب واحد؟ هل نحن أصلا كنا are we one people? Are we one nation? Because الوضع الماشي ده في حاجات we need to fix it. لكن أنا بكرة هنتكلم عن التطورات الراهنة السياسية في جنوب السودان. لكن في الأسبوع الجاي maybe Friday like this, maybe we'll come or Thursday, and I will reach out to Julius to Ambassador. We try also to make it earlier because as a zaman would actually Ambassador Emmanuel, I shall also to be one of the contributors. So Julius, خلينا نديك له عندك تعليق before I go to Moses. تفضل.
All right, I was just gonna make it short as I could, you know. Issue between Ladoda, it became very complex, and also the political conflict in South Sudan is making even things worse. In order to, you know, assert something or deny something, is have to have, you know, an evidence. An evidence that your evidence should not have to be physical, you know, or something written, because oral history itself is an evidence, you know. And I will give you a good example. You know, I'm not one side, because people will see me, I'm siding with the separatist Equatorian. I'm not, but I'm just giving my own perspective as I see things. We as the Cholo, when we were together with our cousins, you know, Pari, Luo, Barpazal, we used to have a kingdom, and I know the names of the king until Diamadu, right? But what that kingdom was called, we don't know. You know, when it was established, we don't know, you know. And the problem is of Equatorians, like people of Equatoria, their geographical location prevent the early European to come and document everything that was there a long time ago. So most of the history is missing, is lost, you know. For example, there is a kingdom in Somalia was called Ponet. Nobody knows about it today. You know, even Somalian, they don't know about it, you know. Ghana, we know Ghana today as a country that's, you know, Ghana in West Africa, but Ghana was a kingdom in Mali, Senegal, and so little known about those people. Even though some kingdom was in the Sahara, when the Sahara dry out, nobody knows about where those people. Some of them migrated and they just dispersed. Some of them was assimilated in other people, you know. So we have to try some other links in order to reach that thing. The argument not was called Lado or not. I'm not going to dwell much about the name itself, you know, but I will say those people that were in a particular time, that were together, you know, that's where they speak one language, that's where they have one culture, you know, they have similarity even in attitude, you know. That means those people, they were together in some point of time, and, you know, for some reason, this thing, kingdom, whatever, you know, the state collapses. Because I said Lado didn't come from nowhere. You know, it was when the British named that place, when Charles Gordon named it Lado, because there was a place called Lado at that time. That's why he used the same name. Even Juba itself is an offensive. I mean, Juba itself is offensive, because it's supposed to be Juba, because Juba is a god of conquer in ancient Greek. So people are so happy with name Juba, but it's so offensive, that's name, you know. So when it's come to the French and British struggle over the Nile, you know, the European, when they decided to partition Africa, they didn't know much about Africa. What they know about the coastal regions of Africa. So they didn't know anything about interior of Africa. First, they sent explorers. The Belgium, they hired a name called Stanley. That's why Kinshasa was called Stanleyville. And the French, they sent a man called Brazza. That's why capital of other Congo was called Congo-Brazzaville. So they went there and they discovered. This is what actually brought the guy that I told you wrote a book, Burton. Burton also was sent by the British as an intelligent officer to go and, you know, map Central Africa for the British, because they were planning this since the United States became independent, Australia became independent. Europe lost a lot of revenues, you know, so they were going downhill. So they needed another place of income. So another place was Africa. You know, always when Europe, they have problem, they turn to Africa. You know, even the Berlin Conference was actually the two Berlin Conference, the one in 1884, then the one in 1885. So with the little information, they just want to grab whatever they want, they could put their hands on. Yes, Victor presentation agitate the Egyptian, but technically the British told the Egyptian this dam cannot be built because for sure there's a flatland. How are you going to build a dam there? You're going to just drown the entire region, and yeah, it wouldn't work. But it was something to threat the French. They were threatening the British at that time because the French was actually the people who dug the Suez Canal. So the Egyptian and the allies themselves was the British, so they lost that privilege of using that Canal Suez. So this is what happened. Kitchener was actually, he went from Sudan to South Africa because he was appointed as Governor General, Hakimdar and Serdar, because Serdar is mean the القائد العام بتاع الجيش Hakimdar القائد العام. So when the war broke out, because he was a war machine, Kitchener, he came from Syria. If I come from fighting war, fight a war in Sudan, then he went to Bua and kill people there. That's what he does for a living, Yeah. And yes, the British, when they conquered Sudan, they were coming for revenge for Charles Gordon. Even Kitchener, the first thing he did when Omdurman fell, he went to Mahdi tomb, he brought out the carcass and he cut his head off and he threw it in the river. This is the first thing he did.
No,
the second
Julius, not only throwing the river, there's a rumor that he was using it as a cigarette ash, that's Sigara, until he threw it after that.
Kitchener was psychopath. Yani Kitchener, Muhammad Ali, don't serious. They don't have emotion. Lord Kitchener doesn't have emotion, this guy, So this is what happened. And other thing, partition of Africa, Southern Sudanese political identity. Look, the British, they didn't care much about South Sudan, to be honest with you. Not only South Sudan, all over Africa. They didn't care much. They were there for resources. That's what they were there for. Nothing less, nothing more, But there's something that we South Sudan we have to use, and we have to use well, is I-18. That's what brought all the missionaries all over the world to come and preach gospel to South Sudanese. This is an advantage. We have to look at it and use it well. As the Jewish use, the Old Testament as part of Christianity. Now the Western world are protecting them. We can use the same thing. South Sudan is very important for the religious people in the Western world. So these are the people who are pushing for, even abolishing the slave trade in South Sudan was the church people. Samuel Baker was a churchman. He followed the footsteps of Livingstone, the Scottish man. Even he's a guy who created what they call the 3C. This 3C was turned to a colonial policy, Christianity, commerce, charity. So I will stop here. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you very much, my brother Julius. Actually, the whole time of presentation and discussion is 2 hours and a half. And now we have 1 hour and a half. That means we remain with 57 minutes. I will not be here longer than that, actually, because I have some assignment I have to go. I have research I have to do it. So let me give my brother Moses 6 minutes. I think it will be good to. We have 5 people on the stage. Those they came up and actually they did not speak yet. I have Moses Dawood or Sunday Zol Hakani or David Shudar. So we'll give each of you 6 minutes, comment, any question to Julius and Ambassador Emmanuel. So Comrade Moses, welcome and take your 6 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ustaz Comrade Edward, the moderator, and Honorable Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin, and our guests in South Sudan Political Club, Ustaz and historian Comrade Julius. Thank you so much. I would like to appreciate your great input in our political debate, because the historical factor is missing in our political discussion. we are busy with current political affairs as political parties, as political movement, even the government. Nobody talks about history. It is important to know history, because if we don't know history, we will not understand the political complications that are happening now in our country, and we will not even understand the future. So I would like just to give you a big thank, Julius. You have tried your best to explain the facts about history. About facts cannot be debated. You cannot debate that there is no sun. And so I am not going to question anything. I am just going to put my 50-cent coins in this discussion. I will contribute 2 points. I'm not going to talk about pre-colonization rule. You have already exhausted that. I want to talk about the phase of colonization, because colonization is a phase in history. Like slavery is a phase or a stage in history. So I would just say that colonization it's very important for us to understand the impact of colonization in our current political system, whether Sudan or South Sudan. And then, as I am an economist, I'm not a historian, I will touch about the cause of liberation in history. All the 64 tribes have paid a cost, a heavy cost in terms of life and resources in the history of decolonization and liberation of South Sudan. We have liberated you and all that. This is all not historical. The history, liberation is a process. All 64 have contributed. Now back to point 1, colonization. Colonization is summarized into 4 Gs. Sometimes they call 3 Gs, but let me say 4 Gs. Gun, God, glory, goal. So whether it is colonization of British nature or Arab nature, they come with guns to kill people. They come with God. They don't bring God, but they establish religious institution, whether kanais or masajid. And then gold, they exploit the resources, natural resources of the land. And glory, they write the history to glorify them, and they make us to speak English and Arabic. That goes back to their glory. And this is one of the professors in UK. His name, for just reference, because it's good to reference things. His name is called Professor December Green. He wrote a book called The Politics of Developing Nation in the Context of History. And he summarized colonization into 3 Gs, but I just added gun. He excluded gun, but he say God, gold, glory. So all these religious problem, Muslim, Christian, all these are part of colonization. But when colonizers, whether Arab or white, use God, they use God as a mean to achieve their ends, their goals. They don't use God as an end by itself, as an end of helping us in South Sudan or Sudan to go to heaven and have a better life. No, they use God to exploit us. So it is used as a means, not as an end. So that is very important. Glory, of course, the history is not written to favor us in South Sudan. Whether Arabs or British, they write it to glorify them. So I agree with people that say that our history has not been written well. We need actually to rescue our history, and I don't know how. I am not a historian. Second point that I want to add, all 64 tribes have paid a heavy cost fighting
Moses,
and rebelling.
You are actually 6 minutes finished, but let me give you 1 minute, my brother. Sorry.
Okay, thank you. So in historical context, all tribes that live along the White Nile and in the borders, those tribes have paid much price in South Sudan than other tribes, whether Cholo or Nuer and Dinka. And in October, for example, as Ambassador said, October, 30 of October 19, the Aliap Dinka uprising against the governor of Mongola, Stingat, it's called Stingat. They killed him on the 8th of December 1919. But he was first a governor of the Upper Nile province in 1917 to 1918. And after he served in Upper Nile, he was moved to Mangala because Aliap was part of Mangala. So in 8th of December 1919, the Dinka Aliap rebels against the British and they killed this governor called Stingat. And because of that, in 1920s, Aliap was taken out from Mangala and moved to Lake State. So that's part of the history that I need to add, that tribes along the Nile have paid highest cost to fight against rebellion than the tribe of South Sudan that were not along the Nile and that were not in the borders. And thank you so much. That's what I want to add.
Yeah, thank you so much.
But Mahandis, just the giga wahda, because I want to add something.
Go ahead.
Regarding the Lado Inclave in Kalamna few, there's an article that was written by somebody called Robert Collins and Richard Herzog. The title of the article is called Earlier British Administration in Southern Sudan. There was published by the Journal of the African History, volume 2, number 1, 1961. Pages 119 to 135 is 17 pages. ده مهم جدا لأي reference if anyone want to read about Lado Inclave. And let me quote this. On the 17th of December 1909, Leopold II died. Within a month, the Belgian minister in London informed the British authorities that the Belgian government was prepared to consummate the Anglo-Congolese Agreement of 1906. A joint commission was duly appointed to that effect, to effect the transfer, and on the 16th of June 1910, the Lado Inclave was officially handed over to the Sudan government authorities. The southern Sudan territory, territorially speaking, was at last completely within the jurisdiction of the Sudan government, and the task of consolidating the administration of the South could now begin. So the Mehim Jiddan, I just felt is good for footnoting. I don't know if they may want to go and read further. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ambassador. Julius, do you want to add anything before we go forward?
No. Just want to say thank you, brother Moses, and also Ambassador Emmanuel. Our identity is very important, and the only way we can create an identity is history. You cannot just create identity based on political application. You wouldn't. You just cannot build a state based on democracy or human rights or constitution. You need an identity. That's why the countries who have identity, they're thriving. United States is a white man country. That's how it's established. And this is how I thrive. Although it's changing now, but you have to stand. You have to know who you are in order to know where you're going. The journey have to start from point A to point B. So if you don't know where it's point A, you wouldn't find out point B. It's common sense, So yeah, we need to have a dialogue who we are and how we became South Sudanese, and there's some very painful history. It's not. We're not going to talk about it today. Slave trade in South Sudan. That's what actually compelled Samuel Baker to campaign for South Sudanese, because how Arabs were doing it, it was so horrible. Even he gave details how those people would come and burn villages and kill the adults and take the children and they will leave the women because they know they will give birth for children that will come after a few years to kidnap again, and they will only take children. And the young South Sudanese girl was the most valuable commodity at that time, because it's like you're buying a washing machine, a lawn mower, a cooker, very much everything. They're all the appliances we have today, just with us girl, It was very sad, those things. South Sudanese leaders, they know, we pay blood and tears for this country. And this country have all the reason to succeed, not to fail. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Actually, let me remind Ambassador Emmanuel on Monday, you will be the guest in Voice of the People Forum to talk about the history, where we one people are South Sudanese, and when did our unity started. لأنه في مشكلة هسه we all of us are seeing الحاجات الماشية هسه، ونرجع نرجع للتاريخ. الوحدة بتاعتنا بدت من وين، والمحطات بتاعت الوحدة حقنا والخلافات بدت وين، ونينا الليلة ماشيين وين. So Ambassador Emmanuel, that will be on Monday. It will be earlier for you. I will put it ahead like قبل بدينا مع جوليوس الساعة 5، أنا بخط هنا الساعة 4 بالتوقيت بتاعي، لأن أنا بكون رجعت من الشغل.
Well, that will be good for me on Monday. Yeah.
Yes, on Monday. Yes, yeah. قبل الوقت بدين مع جوليوس، أنا بقى بعدك بعدين بعمل سكادل الروم، وبرضه بعدك أنت تشوف الزمن بتاعك. لكن زي الزمن بدينا مع جوليوس قبل بس بنجر ورا شوية 1 hour. أنا بيجي من الشغل طوالي، بيجي بيت، مرات بمشي رياضة، لكن on Monday ما عندي محاضرة لأنه Martin Luther King the يوم بتاعه that I will come back, come to the house and just prepare for the show. So we'll start. Ambassador Julius also هتكون قاعد اللي انت محطات تضيفه، لكن official guest will be Ambassador Emmanuel أجاوين عشان نتكلم بالتاريخ بتاعتنا. هنا ما عملنا يعني روم منفصل بالشكل زي ده، and we feel انه direction الجنوب ماشي عليه هسه محتاج correction. We need to correct this situation. So thank you, Julius, again, Ambassador Emmanuel. Let me go to the wheat. Actually, I'm giving 6 minutes. لأنه نحن ننتهي بعد شوية. أنا I'm not bringing more people up. معلش للزمن يعني الشو بتاعتنا تاني ما بكون طويل خالص زي اللي بنعمله.
But you brought me up.
Yeah, you're up. You will speak. What's wrong with that? There is people
okay.
ahead of you. Yeah.
Okay.
David. Yeah.
All right then.
Patient. There is no patient. What I need to say.
No, that should be patient.
Okay,
I understand.
Okay, that is okay. Okay, close your mic. So I'm going. There is Dawood ahead of you on Sunday. What I'm going to do, Dawood, if you remain with 5 minutes, with 1 minute, I will actually put up the sign of the red sign, and the last 6 minutes also I will put the bell up to the ring. For you, your 6 minutes over. So Dawood, go ahead, comment any question to Julius and Ambassador. Further.
Thank you, Engineer Edward. Check. Name is called The Word, and you know that that's just a clubhouse name. My real name is David Maborshadar. So if my namesake David Ambassador, if he is like wants to, they're really desperate to come ahead of me, I can allow him, and then you come back. So that's what I want to do. Thank you, Edward.
You go ahead. This topic is interesting. I want to learn much more. Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Yeah, thank you, David, actually, for being kind. Thank you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Edward. Okay. All right. Okay. I will speak. We have 6 minutes. Okay. I will speak in 6 points. I hope I greet you all, moderators, panelists, and downstairs. Number 1, يا Edward. انت ما ضحكت يا اخي، انت مالك؟ انا سمعتك ضحكت في الشو ده، شنو؟ نقدر اسمع الضحكه دي جميله دي. Okay, that number one. Number two, يا ادوارد كان عندنا من انا جبت انا كنت داير اعرف your WhatsApp number. You send me your WhatsApp, it didn't work. So you want to fix that, and I want you to fix that. Didn't work. Okay. Okay. Point number two. I invite you all, panelists here, and moderators and audience, to follow me, because I have a message that I think is very important. It's very important presentation I want to do sometime in a week time. So follow me. If you don't have any problem following me, if you have any problem following me, it's okay. But follow me now. If you don't follow me, Clubhouse. Point number three. I just want to make a correction. Yeah, knowledge, something to do with knowledge and language. There is a term called Lado. South Sudanese are calling it Lado Enclave. From a little knowledge I have in languages, it's not called like that. It's not called enclave. It's called enclave or enclave, depending if you are from in America or you are in the rest of the English-speaking world. If you are in America, call it enclave. Enclave. If you are in the rest of the English-speaking world, call it enclave. Because it embarrasses me sometimes when people say Lado enclave. Embarrasses me. Okay. The main speaker in this room, this topic here, is someone called Julius. And I don't see him here on the stage. So is he connected with your account, Edward? So that was a bit of a problem. I don't know who is Julius. Okay, so I want to talk about history. I had a bit of academic study of the history, medieval history, Australia history, and history in general. Medieval Europe history, Australia history, the New World, America history, something like that. I said in some courses about that. So I have a background. Okay, so the history we are doing here in Clubhouse is a tribal history. It is a history by amateurs of history, politicians. This kind of history cannot be trusted. Cannot be trusted.
David Maboro, why don't you the history that can be trusted? You are wasting our time here, please.
Data, can you wait, Yamake? Can you wait? When I finish, then you respond to me.
Tell us the history
you are breaking.
You think
you are
this
breaking
is wrong.
Clubhouse rules.
David,
tell us what is.
You are breaking Clubhouse rules.
No, because you are wasting our time. We are not learning anything from you.
David, thank you, my brother. Actually,
okay, if you feel this is too much for you,
David,
I
actually,
can stop. I can.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, give me 1 minute to say my last point. Okay.
Actually, your minute. Where did you go? Okay, he moved down. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. And by the way, I don't know what to say. Ambassador Julius, you guys, do you have anything to
Yeah, I think this dude was just coming to critique, but the critique that he's putting is not academical at all, because he's saying that the history that we are presenting here is about tribal. I don't know if he was listening from the beginning and to listen to the references that we are giving all the time. So I think if he feels that he knows history more than us and he has a very mature or maturistic history, let him open his room, and those who would like to join him, they will join him. So as Moses said, it's just wasting our time. I think we should move on.
Thank you, Ambassador. Actually, I brought Moses up because he wrote a comment. There is someone down there misunderstood him, and I want him to clear that before we conclude by then. So, Khaling Mana for Dr. Moses. Julius, do you have anything more to say? Other for me, I got nothing to say. Do you want to say anything?
وانا ما فهمت حاجه زاد عشان اقول حاجه.
Okay, let's move forward. زي ما قال عباس ايمانويل انا طبعا الفورم ده انا ما كنت داير اتاسس خالص في ناس كثيرين بدك تقول remove this guy down, remove this dude down, but it's good الاودينس تغيموا براكم الناس الزول اللي بيجي انا لذلك انا يعني I have thick skin, so that's why I listen to him. وبعدها people will judge. بعدها لما نيجي يقول انه this story is a tribal history, I didn't understand anything because Ambassador Gibel اتكلم تاريخ, Moses اتكلم تاريخ.
يا بس ما عندي زيدوت. قالوا طبعا انت بقيت thick skin لانه يعني مره جبت يعني بقى في ادب شويه, develop thick skin.
Emmanuel قال يبقى انت بتاع مشاكل. I know. المره زاد لو زول ما عمل كده بعدها a lot of problems. So let's move forward. Sunday, let me take your 6 minutes. Emmanuel, later.
Okay, thank you so much. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much, Engineer Edward. And I would like also to thank Ambassador Emmanuel Ajawin. And I will not forget to thank anthropologist Julius for this great presentation. So I was enjoying it actually. So seeing it started from the beginning until where he stopped, I was enjoying. I was following in Facebook, but I came to Clubhouse because I want to ask question. My question goes like this. He was talking about the Turco-Egyptian rule in Sudan when Muhammad Ali Pasha came to Sudan, and also when he sent his son Ismail Pasha to Sudan. And he said that Ismail Pasha was killed in Sudan by, I think he said like a Roman. What I want to ask is this, because I read the history before, and it says that Ismail Pasha was killed by Jalin King Magnimir. So I think there is contradiction here. So Julius, if you can clarify this point, it would be good. So this is my question. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother. Julius, go ahead.
No, I didn't say it. I don't know. Maybe I said it by mistake, but I know Magnimir, the one who burned Ismail Pasha, then his brother-in-law, Diftarar, come for revenge. So this is well known. Roman are just, I don't know. The Roman period in Sudan is aimed when a Nubian, actually Nobatese man called Silko created Dawlat al-Magharra as we know it. So yeah, they're very far between Roman and Turkish rules. So.
شكرا جزيلا. عبد المنعم داود مؤمن ممكن الدعوه. عبد المنعم لو انت موجود في كلاب هاوس تعال لنا في كلاب هاوس South Sudan Political Club لو انت قاعد في كلاب هاوس. otherwise انا مرسل لك لينك اذا انت عندك مداخله.
I check. Can I say something?
Yeah, go ahead and take David. Go ahead and take your 6 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. First of all, my name is David Amor. What I have to say is, in the history, I will take only one key from Moses, that
So the Romans in Baroda in 1953. In 1953, they came. In 1953, the Romans came from Brona. I mean the Jehovah Catholics God, led by Daniel Comboni. They came to Gondokoro. They went to Pishoda first in a place called Dilip Hill. And then they came down to the Nile, exploring the Nile by Daniel Comboni. Then they stopped in a place called Holy Cross, which is in Yerol, from Verona, the Catholic missionaries, led by Daniel Comboni. So I take that G from Moses, because if the explorers came to get whatever they want, whether through God or not, then they came to us. Now the friend.
Sorry, David. I move you down. I think you are out of context of the topics. Julius, did you catch anything, my brother? Yeah, we actually concluded. Thank you.
I don't know, man. Those people, they're very hard, somebody to follow up with them, because
yeah, Edward. First of all, let me acknowledge Brother Moses, and I didn't do it earlier. Nice seeing you, Chief. And I wish you Happy New Year. We have to respond to this dude or Nakadiulano. Dolep Hill he's talking about this where I come from.
Yeah, you respond, make clarification because I did.
Okay. Yeah, Dolep Hill, I don't know which Roman came in 1953. I think he meant Italians. But Italians, Catholics, they did not come to Dolep Hill. Dolep Hill is where I come from. We are Presbyterians. We are not Catholic. The people who came to Dolep Hill, it was the American missionary who came in 1902. They came in 1902, and then they opened the Dolep Hill School, the first school in 1907, where those of my grandfather went to school. But no Catholic came to that area. The Catholic only came to northern Shuluk, the areas of Lul. That's where until today they still have the parish there in northern Shuluk. But in the southern Shuluk, especially Dolep Hill, who was American Presbyterian, with the Roman that my brother Dave is referring, the Roman, we did not see any Roman. It was the American missionaries that came. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ambassador. Even the bishop actually arrived in Dolep Hill on 27 March 1902. So that's why I was confused, actually. Julius, can you want to say anything?
Yeah, this is what I call, halfway information. Voronezh, those are the Austrian Catholic missionaries. Those are the people actually start preaching Catholicism in South Sudan. These are the people who opened Gondokoro, and they called us, missionary, the Holy Cross. He knows some things, but he doesn't know a lot. Yeah, and he just knows names. Voronezh, even Daniel Comboni joined the Voronezh, actually, missionaries, and he worked in the Nuba Mountain. So when he died, the missionary was named after him as the Cambodian missionaries. It's just misinformation. He knows a few things, and he just tried to make the rest from his head.
Thank you. Before we conclude, I want to say one point to clear one point to the audience in the clubhouse, and also those are listening in Facebook. We are here actually. What we are talking about are history and facts. So even Julius, Ambassador Emmanuel Moses were quoting notes from those actually they wrote the history of South Sudan. Yeah, we don't want anyone just you come here, you just speak on your mind. This room, South Sudan Political Club, and Voice of the People Forum is not like any other room. Anybody can come in and just you can speak your mind. No. When you come here, make sure actually, if you want to quote something from someone, tell us the page and tell us the name of the book. So please, أنا داير أقول لكم ما في زول يجي فوقنا زي ما قاعد أقول سفير إيمانويل تقول لنا كلام بتاع الحبوبات Jesus are not supported by the facts وكلام الكثير ده. We are not here to waste time. Nas Ketiring are watching the live video and also South Sudan Political Club, and they will come later on and listen to the information. And also we are responsible. Ambassador is responsible. Julius were responsible. Also Moses here. Aizol Bijifo. Malaysia Juana, Aizol Nazalao Tehet, out of topic. Malaysia Juana, we actually mind and work it like Aizol there at Kalam Sak. Moses, let actually brought you up, my brother. I'm going to give you the floor to make, I think there is clarification you have to do down there. And also you can add some the final remarks. And then I will go to Ambassador and the final will be Julius because it was me here. So further, Moses.
Well, shukran leg, Mohandis Edward. I would just like to clarify one point that has been raised by our comrade Jacob Laku in the comments in the clubhouse session here. It might not appear in the Facebook, but this is what I have said, my brother and comrade Jacob. I have said that colonization is basically summarized in 3G: God, gold, glory. And God that you comment about, you talk about Daniel Kamboni and the great job they have done. I am not disqualifying the role of Catholic and Daniel Kamboni in South Sudan. I myself, I studied in St. Augustine, and it is a Catholic school. But that's not our topic. Our topic that I was referring to is whether the colonizers of Southern Sudan or Sudanese were British or whites by origins, the Westerners, or Arabs by origins. They use these three formulas: God, gold, glory, and plus guns. But in the context of God, when the Arabs or British introduced the religious institution, that is in the name of God, they did not mean to use God as an end, to make us happy, live a good life in South Sudan or Sudan. They made religious institution to suppress us. And they were using God as means to achieve their goals. They have nothing to do whether we go to heaven or to hell. That's my point. And now, Islam and Christianity, sometimes we hate ourselves. It is part of colonization. The colonizers did not bring God to Africa or to South Sudan. They just brought the religious institutions such as Catholic institution in Barakazal, most of Awil, northern Barakazal, there is Catholic. I study also in Wow, there is Catholic. In Lake State, there is Anglican. Presbyterian in Upper Nile, Katir, and Pentecostal somewhere. So these are all means to achieve something. They are not meant to be an end for us. They were not brought to entertain us or to improve our livelihood. So that's what I said. But I'm not disqualifying the great role of Catholic, especially Daniel Kamboni. He has done a tremendous work until he died in Sudan. We respect Catholic. But how did they came to Sudan? That's what I was talking about. Lastly, I was actually coming to listen until I got what catch my heart to join and put in my 50 cents in the discussion. But if somebody come up and say what is being said is a tribal history, okay, tell us what is not a tribal history. You don't just need to come here and beat around the bush, waste people time. Somebody has prepared himself and presented his perspective about history. You come and present yours. As an intellectual, you find a common ground between you and other intellectuals. You don't just criticize for the sake of criticism. So I apologize if I have offended the moderator to talk without being given a chance. And if I offended my brother, Mabur Chadar, I did not have any intention to abuse you, but you have abused the forum. That's why I'm telling you, you're wasting people's time. So I will stop here so we can go ahead, and I don't want to consume time. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Comrade Moses. Actually, you did not do anything wrong. You did not offend me, even neither Ambassador Emmanuel or Julius. Actually, and even also I was going to open my mic and Ambassador Emmanuel too. So thank you so much for the interjection. That is your right, and also I respect you a lot when you come up to contribute in the forum. So thank you for being up, and thank you for the contribution, and also for clarification. شكرا جزيلا. Ambassador Emmanuel, أنينا ماشيين نختم ونديك الفرصة الأخيرة تعلق على بعض الكلام وبرضه تقول كلمتك أخيرة. بكرة يكون يعني نتكلم عن رأي سياسي. أنا ما باخذ زمن طويل في برزنتيشن في رؤوس الحاجات. أتمنى برضه أنت تكون موجود بكرة، and برضه نتجهز للتوبيك بتاع يوم الاثنين. أنا بعمل له سكيدول بعد شوية و you prepare yourself. So فضل ساعتك، وشكرا للجاية، وشكرا برضه إنك أنت سهرت لغاية وقت متأخر يعني. Thank you.
No, شكرا باشمهندس، ده كان واجب ولا بد بانه زول تكون الزمن يجي يتكلم. انا بدي نثبت حاجه نحن طبعا جايين من المذاهب مختلفه بتاع تعليم. التعليم البريطاني بتركز لرفرنسز كمرجعيات كثير. في تعليم في الدول الثانيه خاصه الدول العربيه هي عباره عن الحفظ. You memorize something وخلاص تكتب كأنه is your point. نحن ممكن نتكلم عن التاريخ لا بد بأنه نستعمل references. في ناس بيقولوا بأنه we cannot the academic references they are not Bible or they are not biblical truth. It is true. But انت لو قلت لك انت اكتب essay وانت كتبت essay وما جي لي مرجع انا بديك صفر حتى الessay بتاعك جميل كيف. I wouldn't care. But if you write an essay and you have a reference, I know في ناس عملوا research قبلك and you're supporting your argument. Okay, references are used to support your argument, give it credence and to give it support and heavy and to give it intellectual weight. It's not because when you use it, you're using as a Bible or gospel truth. No, it is also important to have reference. You cannot just sit down and type an article without any reference. You will get zero. Nobody will take you serious. So it's important. بإنه كنا نتكلم عن references is to give credence to the argument we're putting forth. This is very important in any academia. للحلقة بتاعنا I think Edward and Julius you have done a great job and those who have come up earlier. أنتوا عملتوا شغل كبير جدا. وده كان جزء من الأهداف بتاعي بدري قبل 5-4 سنوات. بإنه نمشي للتاريخ بتاع الجنوب نحن نعرف نفسنا. And I'm so happy بإنه أنت يوم الاثنين هتتكلم عن قومية جنوبية. هل هناك قومية جنوبية ولا نحن ساكت we are still we are not a nation. ده كلها قضايا شائعة وقضايا مهمة جدا. لأنه التاريخ is not only about the past. It is for you to learn the past so that you could correct your present your present so that you could plan for your future. ده ثلاثة حاجات الأركان التاريخ كسبجكت بنركز عليها. فما في زول عنده مونوبولي بتاع التاريخ، لكن انت لو بتختلف في اراء او في نقاط ناس اثاروا انت تعال بالبوينت بتاعك قول لنا جوليوس ايمانويل ما متفق معكم لانه في كلام كده and support by argument في reference كده لكن كنت تيجي تقول كلام حبوبات ساكت ما بجيب حقه. It doesn't make sense. We are not نحن في محلات the intellectual forum حقك and we need to continue contributing. I think the topic today, Julius and yourself has done a lot of justice. South Sudan pre-colonial rule. لكن أنا كنت بتمنى باشمهندس عشان كده أيام الفايدة قلت لك ما تسرعوا، لأنه أنا كنت بتمنى بإنه الشقتين بتاع الاستعمار الثنائي البريطاني المصري كان لابد ان احنا نفصلها تفصيل كامل، شفتها؟ لانه في حاجات كثيره ما تكلمنا عنهم، يعني حتى الصراعات اللي كانت الداخليه الموجوده بين القبائل بانفسهم، وبريطانيين كانوا دايرين يفرضوا الهيبه بتاعهم، الاقتتال اللي كان الحاصله بين بريطانيا والقبائل في جنوب السودان، ده كمان كان لابد ان نعمل له وقفه تاريخيه ونتكلم في التفاصيل عشان الجنوبيين يعرفوا بانه حاصل كان شنو. حتى بعد كده نجي للقوميه الجنوبيه، لكن ما مشكله، افتكر في يوم الاثنين بنحاول كويكلي كده نعمل سمري عشان نقدر to answer the question into you raised on Monday on the issue of nationalism, whether South Sudan is a nation or South Sudan is just a geographical fiction. ده مهم جدا، وهل نحن ناس فعلا عندنا حاجه قواسم مشتركه بتربطنا ولا لا؟ فانا بتمنى بانه تواصلوا بالنقاشاتكم ده مهم جدا. زي ما قال اخوي موسس بانه الناقص الان في التاريخ في الساحه السياسيه الجنوبيه، بانه حتى يعني كتار من السياسيين بتاعنا لا يملكوا التاريخ ذاتهم، they don't even know about history. خليك من history بتاع ancient Egypt، جوليوس بيتكلم فوقه، وبتاع ناس بانخي وبتاع دولة الوات وحاجات ديل، لكن حتى التاريخ الحديث بتاع جنوب السودان ابدا من 47 جوبا the conference 47 لحد هنا، وناس كتار سياسيين by the way they don't know it. شفتها؟ يعني حصلوا سؤال لتوتكا وبينه 1947 حصل شنو توتكا وقالوا له هيقول لك شنو ذات. شفتها؟ فدي المشكله بانه الساسه الموجودين في جنوب تضربهم ما عندهم الارث التاريخي نازل و they have the knowledge. التاريخ بتاع الجنوب كلها بدا ب 83 الحركه الشعبيه، ده التاريخ هم عارفينها، لكن behind that يعني they don't know anything about it. So نتمنى بانه these humble discussions that we are having will continue enlightening our people, and the main objective طبعا هتصب بانه نحن حتى لو ما نحن ما قوم، نحن ما يعني we are not a nation yet، نحن ما امه، لكن نحن بوسط التاريخ بتاعنا والسرد التاريخي نحن هنقدر نعمل لنا حاجه قوميه موتور كده يبدا صغير وبعد كده يكبر، وده بيجيب الجنوبيين together. and also this also يعني بقوي southern nationalism، وبقوي ذات نضال الجنوبي من اجل بينهم يعيشوا كشعب واحد وكأمة واحدة وكقبائل، يعني والقوم ما بقول قبائل كقوميات موحدة في اطار بقع جغرافي اسمه جنوب السودان. فنشكرك باشمهندس ادوارد، تصبح على خير.
قبل ما تختم امباسادور، انا داير تعليق على السؤال هنا. قبل ما اطرح عليك السؤال ده، هل انت في رايك انه مفروض قبل ما نمشي للقوميه الجنوبيه في جزء من التاريخ انت قلته قبل شويه، في جزء منه تاريخ جوليوس كان عنده كتاب هو داير يكون موجود كمرجع، لكن انت ممكن تقدم برزنتيشن، ما مشكله، هنا ممكن نمد القوميه الجنوبيه لانه كاخر حاجه، ويوم الاثنين ممكن نجي في الحاجه في النقطه اللي قلت قبل شويه سيد السفير قبل ما عشان
انا قلت ان احنا المفروض اولا قبل نتكلم عن القوميه الجنوبيه خلينا نحن شويه نجيب وقفه وننظر للسياسات الاستعماريه اللي كانت موجوده، السياسه الاول والثاني من البريطانيا والمصريين، بانه بقوا يبنوا في الايمج في الحاجه بيسموه جنوب السودان. يعني هم كان عندهم التجربه انه يبنوا قوميه جنوبيه، اوكي؟ فالقوميه الجنوبيه ده المشاكل كانت شنو؟ يعني السلبيات وايجابياته كان شنو؟ البريطانيين كانوا وروا ده فيسنج، يعني فور اكزامبل يعني البريطانيين جو سنه 1905 شاكلوا مع زاندي، اوكي؟ 1912 شاكلوا مع نيويورك، بعد شويه هم اسسوا ايكوتوريان ديفنس فورس، بعد شويه عملوا ذا رجاف كونفرنس. ما ده كلها كانت يعني بيسموه شنو؟ it was a way of trying to build an image of southern nationalism and south as a different entity. شفتها؟ فده مهم، ده المنطلق، ده البدايه ذاتها.
جميل، خلاص ادي هنا نبدا بالحته ده. يوم الاثنين نمشي به. حاول كده tax me how you want it to look like topic, just text me.
Sure, I'll do that.
Before the kalam jamil jiddan, Julius also it is a kalam bita ambassador, kazol bita historian also. Prepare yourself in أنا ما أعرف لأن أنت قاعد تكون شغال لو أنت ما تكون موجود ولا جينا متأخر لكن we'll go ahead with ambassador Emmanuel. في سؤال هنا ambassador قبل ما تختم كلامك تعلق عليه بعدها جوليس بيجي. في واحد هنا كتب حاجة في فيسبوك قال رأيك شنو في مقولة إنه التاريخ يكتبه المنتصرين؟ ده يعني التاريخ كله مزيف. ambassador جوليس بعدين تعلق تاريخي. ambassador أنا ده تعلق على الحتة ده.
لا طبعا المغولة ده بتوقف، يعني انت لو بتتكلم عن التاريخ الثوري for example زي حاجة كوبا، ولا تكلمت ناس فيديل كاسترو طبعا هيكتبوا تاريخ عن انتصاراتهم ضد ناس باتيتسا. لو جيت تكلمت عن الثورة الفيتنامية ناس جنرال جاب وناس هوشيمين هيكتبوا عن النصر بتاعهم ضد الفرنسيين في بيان فو. ولا جيت كلمت عن الموزمبيق بتاع ناس سمارو ماشيل ولا حتى بتاع لكن التاريخ اللي احنا بنتكلم فيه ده انثروبولوجي، هي تتكلم عن دراسات الشعوب ومرجعيه بتاعهم. ده ما ادري لو زول كان منتصر وزول كان خاسر. فانا I don't buy into this argument بانه تاريخ بيكتبوا الناس هو who won the war يعني وكده. فانا بفتكر بانه تاريخ anthropology is different from the pure history. Thank you.
Thank you. أنت قلت كلمتك الأخيرة ambassador. أنا لأنه كان قطعتك قبل شوية. انتهت؟ سيد سفير.
سوري بس مهندس قلت شنو؟ سوري
أنا قلت خلاص أنت انتهت.
اي انا انتهيت، لكن كان في زول كان سأل سؤال هنا لكن I don't know it went through.
اوكي ممكن
واحد
تجاوب.
قال لي شنو give me a reference. جوين you said واحد بيتكلم عن دنكا بيقول انا قلت الدنكا جاي من السنغال وقال I should give a reference. ما انت يا اخوي if you want me to give a reference the topic الليله ما حق الدنكا you know, so let us stick to the topic. حتى أنا كنت قلت whatever that you said Dinka came from Senegal. I'm sure in that argument I gave justification for it. So you go and watch that clip. You will find references for that I mentioned. Thank you, Edward.
Thank you, Ambassador. You have a good night. Julius, انت عندك تعليق بتاعه كضيف بتاعتنا. اول حاجه خلينا نشكرك لقبولك للدعوه، ونشكرك برضو يعني انت قمت بدري خالص من النوم وجهزت نفسك. شكرا للبرزنتيشن. برضو supported with reference and document وانت رسلتهم لي، وفي مراجع برضو يعني جوليوس رسلوا لي للناس اللي يقروا التاريخ. Please if you want any book من الكتب اللي جوليوس كتبهم، كتب ده موجود. We can send them to anyone actually ready to read and also equip himself with skill بتاع history document وكده. So thank you so much my brother for your time, and also I'm looking forward actually to meet you on Monday with Ambassador Emmanuel, and also بعد ده نحن نمشي للقومية الجنوبية. نحن برضو we have to continue عشان to record those videos the South Sudanese, to tell them still we can have a beautiful country all of us together if we respect ourselves and establish a country with the rule of law. So فضل comrade.
Thank you, Edward. Thank you very much. And I'm not going to thank you not for all this show, but I will thank you for all the what you have been doing since I think 2018 or 2017 have been, a very tough journey and struggle, and you become a voice for the voiceless, and that's I really appreciate your courage, to come out and hold the bull by his horns. Yeah. When it comes to South Sudanese, the people who will come, they just come to fight without knowing who they're fighting and what they're fighting for. And this is what I realized about South Sudanese for so long. And they will come just for particular individuals, and because they're from a particular tribe, they don't care about what they're saying. Even if it's true, they don't care. You know what I mean? And there's a very thin line, in humanoid, those who study human being, there's two terms, a human being, and that's something called Homo sapien. It's another name for human being. And the difference is conscious. you need to know what is right and what is wrong, regardless, who is saying it, And South Sudanese, they suffer a lot, regardless of who is to blame. And don't take side because you're a particular tribe. Just stand for the right side. And in this really notes, I would like to say thank you to Brother Moses Maker. Those are the individuals who really can, stand out of the crowd and go against, their own kind or their own tribe in order to prove what's wrong and what is right. And thank you very much, brother. And yeah, all the best. I'm really pleased to be here, and I wish I would be here again. And I will leave South Sudanese with one say, it's wise to walk a rugged and a long road to heaven with a stranger than to walk on a paved road, rubbing shoulder with your own kind. So thank you very much.
Well done. Thank you. Thank you very much, my brother Julius. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. And thank you for the presentation. It was my pleasure. شكرا جزيلا. وأنا خليني أشكر كل الأودينس بتاعتنا. Those they watch the video and those are coming to watch the video later on. Thank you so much. This will not be the first or the last actually show with historian Julius. We are going to continue with him. For the people of South Sudan to benefit from him, even me too. أنا ما قريت التاريخ زي ما هو قاعد يقولوا قبل والأسماء الغريبة والعجيبة. So it's good also to learn that. نتعلم من الناس اللي actually بنعتبروا منهم قروة يعني زول اللي اجتهد فوقه وتيب فوقه. يعني لازم نشكرهم والناس زي ديل أي زول أنت قاعد أنت مجال بتاعك you are really welcome. If you want to talk about anything, let me know. Actually, we'll host you, we'll prepare a show for you, arrange a show for you in Voice of the People Forum, in Facebook, YouTube, and also in the Clubhouse. Also, thank you, my brother Julius, for sharing the document with me, sharing the books actually with me too. And also, we are going to put them in the Voice of the People Forum archive. And anyone you want any document, we have them. Just reach out to me, and then I will share the book with you. Thank you so much. And also let me give thanks to Ambassador Emmanuel Jawin. Always, even the time is late for him, he will come to contribute and to educate the people of South Sudan. I will not forget actually to give thanks. The local later, Gibel Ambassador Emmanuel Obare Kalamano. Yes. Ambassador نزل تحت انا بقول لامباسادور خليه يشوفه في فيسبوك Ambassador Emmanuel ata watch because كده Julius قولوا ده شنو
Abu Tiangpar is a very deeply saddening sentence. So if you want to say it in today Joluo language in Tiangpar Abud. So it's mean the sun have set. The civilization have gone. So
very good. And actually, Ambassador Emmanuel Jawin will watch that because the last show it was very interesting. He want you to write that kind of language. So thank you. You are blessed, my brother, to the people of South Sudan. Thank you for being with us. Shukran, my brother Dawood. Shukran, Sunday. Shukran, Dr. Moses. لجي بتاعك والكلام الجميل. وبرضه شكرا لأيزول جا فوق جبال. أنا بعتذر لأي زول ده يجي فوق وإنت ما قدرت تيجي فوق للزمن. كل الشهاد بتاعتنا جاي حتى بتاع يوم الاثنين مع Ambassador Emmanuel. We are going to make it also unless Ambassador presentation prolonged شوية كده معلش. لكن otherwise the show will be between 2 hours and a half to 3 hours. لو مشينا كتير لأنه I know Ambassador will talk a lot ممكن يكون 4 hours. I will not go behind the 4 hours لأنه الناس المرة اللي فاتت مع سنة جديدة a lot of people recommended إنه we need to introduce the time of presentation بتاعتنا and then to give chance for the contribution. أنا بلقاكم بكرة هنتكلم عن رأينا السياسي. There is a lot of things we need to talk about them. We'll address them tomorrow. So شكرا Julius for being with us as a guest. شكرا برضو also guest Ambassador Emmanuel Jawin and the rest of the people they came up to contribute. ما بنسى I will not forget actually to pass the greeting and thanks to South Sudan Political Club audience. Those always they join us and listen, being down there patiently, listening to the discussion and to the presentation. Thank you for your time. Your time is valued to you and also to us, and that's why we respect you. شكرا برضو للناس اللي بينضموا لنا في فيسبوك وفي يوتيوب. شكرا لكم جزيل الشكر والتقدير. ودي هنا we'll keep the struggle, and also we'll also keep also correcting the mistakes and also correcting those who are trying to rewrite the history of South Sudan. We'll bring the people those are specialized in their fields, try to and come and give the people of South Sudan the correct story. عشان كده بنجيب زول زي جوليوس لانه ده زول ما عنده علاقه بالبوليتكس like Edward or ambassador, but also ambassador قاعد يقرا تاريخ بيحب التاريخ شديد، وانا برضو sometime انا برضو قاعد اقرا تاريخ اذا انا عندي زمن. شكرا جزيلا، ربنا يبارك فيكم. شكرا جوليوس. You have a good day my brother. Thank you. شكرا جزيلا. Yeah, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you.
Freedom, 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 yes, freedom, 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 yes, freedom. Some people who say separation is the key. Some people